Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the December 7th, 2015 meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. We started at 6:30 with a non-public to discuss some personnel matters, which brings us to now, 7:20, and we'll ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'll ask everyone to join us for a moment of silence, especially this being Pearl Harbor Day. Thank you. We are open for public comment.
Thank you. Frank Campana. Two things, and I will try to be brief. It's been a while now since Police Chief Kelly signed his contract with you folks in the town. It's 32 hours a week. I'm wondering if the selectmen have monitored how that's working out. He's here tonight. He was here last week. He left about 8 o'clock, I think, what I saw. He's been at a public meeting for the noise ordinance, and he's been in a number of non-public meetings with you folks. Are those part of his 32 hours? And if they are, does he, start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? And I'm presuming an 8-hour day, 4 days a week. That's what I'm coming up with, my numbers. He may vary that. So if he stays here till 8 o'clock tonight, does he come in for 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Does he get his travel time to and from? Is that part of his 32 hours? That was not clear in the contract. So I'm just wondering, where the selectmen made their decision to go to a part-time person at full-time pay. If they're monitoring that to see how it's working.
I haven't monitored any time cards. I don't think any of us have. What we do judge on is based on how the performance is going. We do talk with Chief Kelly quite often, as you suggest. If you're interested in the actual hours and days and times, I'm sure we could get that for you, but we don't have that right now.
Okay.
Just one other comment. His commuting time is not part of the 32 hours. No
Well-
more than anybody else's commuting time is part of their job.
Well, like I say, his contract was not clear on that, so I wasn't sure. I just have a concern from a taxpayer, obviously, and probably from, the job that the police department has to do for the security of the town. That the hours, that the 32 hours are getting used to their fullest extent. I know he has in his contract, he can do other organizations. I don't know if that's part of his 32 hours. Pardon me?
That's not part of this.
Pardon me?
That is not part of his 32.
Well, me being the nature of person that I am, how do we know that? I know the words will come back, well, we have to trust in, the department heads, but, that's been tried and has proved to be a failure. The other thing, sorry, Chief, but still police department, but more to the selectmen. Chief Kelly presented, I think it was the 6th, presented his budget to you folks. And in his backup information, he mentions his officers, the number that he wants to add. In his words, I anticipate hiring one of the part-time officers as school resource officer. If that happens, John Stark Regional High School. So it's a high school officer. I sat in on that budget meeting, that presentation, and the first thing that came to mind is Chief Kelly unilaterally deciding that the high school is going to have an SRO? And if so, I thought that was the wrong direction to go. And that's a sizable amount of money. It's the pay, salary and benefits for another person. And I didn't have the answer to the question, was it his determination for a school resource officer? So I took the opportunity on November 18th, I went to the high school board meeting. And to be an equal community, public comment, I proposed that question to the school board. I figured they ought to know. Mr. Campana inquired about the position of school resource officer. And I probably didn't underline this. But the superintendent said she did meet some time back, I guess with a round table discussion with him, and it might have come up. But let's see. I should have underlined it. I apologize for that. The superintendent, as the budget is scheduled to be presented in draft form later this meeting, superintendent said with the current needs and staffing at John Stark, a school resource officer is not budgeted or planned for. So, and in fact, the school board chair said, the school board chair, Mr. Lawson, stated that there was a possible disconnect in information regarding the position, and the school board wasn't planning on a school resource officer. Now, since the 18th, that might have changed, so that was my, timeline. I don't know what they discussed. Maybe everything has changed. But still, my point is to the selectmen. Out of 5 folks, I think 5 of you folks were here that night, maybe 4. Nobody picked up on that. And I was a little surprised. Again, the thought went through my mind, well, did the proposal come from the high school? Obviously it didn't. So why is the police chief proposing a person at salary and benefits to include that resource officer? That's a lot of dollars. So with that, to me, with that error in judgment and asking the question, I wonder how many other items in his proposed budget that the selectmen have discussed. I haven't heard too much of a discussion, the budgets, certainly that night. There were a few small dollar items, relatively small dollar items that were picked on. And apparently he had some items in there that probably shouldn't have been. And I don't fault him for that. The selectmen will, pick up on that. So, I really kind of question the fact that, his budget and perhaps other budgets, they're not being scrutinized enough by the board. That will remain to be seen, as probably after tonight, I guess. So that's all I have, and those are my concerns and my public comment.
It is a process.
Pardon me?
It is a process. That night we were presented, and so we were listening. We have not gone back yet as a board and discussed individual items on there and had further discussions about that yet.
Okay.
But it absolutely will, like it does every year.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. And again, it was the school resource officer that really jumped out at me. You know, there may be other items, and, you know, in his budget, as certainly as well as other budgets. And that night, when there was discussion of the revenue from the school resource officer, you know, coming from the high school, getting reimbursed, that he was gonna use that money for something else. You know, well, it's not his money, and thankfully Tom stood up, you know, and not, didn't stand up, but, you know, made point that that revenue goes into the general fund, and it's not at the disposal of a department head.
May I? It's just, we have had a school resource officer for many years at John Stark, and because of the need for coverage, when John Vallecca was chief, he pulled the officer from that position. That's my understanding of what happened. I think that in Chief Kelly's presentation, as Keith said, it was a presentation, and that what he was saying is that we would need additional officers in order to have a school resource officer. There wasn't anything behind the scenes going on. It was just a matter of presenting a proposal of needs for 24-hour coverage, comparing the number of officers we have with our population and to other similar communities to that population. And just to echo what Chairman Lacasse said, it's part of a process we're going through. And just with the police department or other departments, if there were requests that are above and beyond previous years, we'll have to have an in-depth discussion of those. But I see everything as being very upfront here, not nothing devious, nothing behind the scenes, but laying out a need for us to examine as a board.
And I wasn't necessarily indicating devious behind the scenes, okay? But my point was that, you know, if in his presentation he had said, well, I'm going to include a school resource officer, which he highlighted as one of the 5 people, and perhaps said, the school has not requested it, I'm doing this on my own for now, or if he in fact said, the school had requested it, then then it wouldn't have been an issue with me. But neither one of those 2 scenarios played out, and you know, it would have been nice for the selectmen. Again, I realize it was the first night.
Right,
But
it's coming up in a presentation, and we're unaware of whether or not the school had asked.
okay,
That would be something that, you know, we'll
Okay.
look further into. It's not something that we missed, it's just
Right.
something that,
okay.
you know, has not been.
Because if school's not asking for it, then to me, that's one position less that's needed. Because the school resource officer spends most of the time at the school, supposedly. And I know summertime, you know, come back here for a while. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good evening, Richard Butt. You probably know what I'm going to talk about.
I have a guess.
Well, you're wrong. But
Thank
at the
you.
last meeting, it appeared that there was some brief discussion about the possibility of not putting a noise ordinance on the warrant, or at least further discussion is going to take place. I don't think you're any further along now than you were a year ago when it was first presented. It is contentious, but I think we need to do something. And one of the selectmen had mentioned at the public hearing that there was several towns in the area have a noise ordinance. Well, I went to Goss, and Goffstown was mentioned specifically. I went to their website. The only thing I could find was a permissible fireworks ordinance. And it seems to be pretty comprehensive, pretty liberal in terms of usage of fireworks. And I would ask the board if they would consider at least putting something on the warrant. And I think the fireworks one, in my mind, would be the most benign, as opposed to trying to put something together for either restricting or eliminating backyard firing ranges. So in case you don't have a copy of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing is, I wanted to talk about some things that have, have been set over the years, and I've been guilty of saying it as well. And that's when we start looking at administrative costs, specifically healthcare. I was happy to be on the board when we changed the personnel policy that provided an opportunity for the town to have employees. They probably didn't look at it as an opportunity, but to pay a portion of their premium for healthcare. And we've done that through collective bargaining agreements as well. The problem I'm having is with statements that are made at the time we propose these, whether it's a collective bargaining agreement or for non-union employees. And this is very brief, I'll just read from the minutes of the deliberative session. This is in regards to health care, employees paying a portion. It will end up being a savings to the town over 3 years. The second year will be a net savings of $18,000, and the third year will be a net savings around $34,000, which includes wages and benefits. In the mailer that went out, that was I believe that was the police department. The one for the highway department, when that went out, said, no, I think the first one was the highway department. This is the police department. This one stated, and the purpose of the article was that this agreement includes a change in health plans that will result in $13,000 in savings to the town in 2015 and $26,800 in savings per year for subsequent years. That also included going from a specialized plan for the police department to the town health insurance plan, as well as an increase in the premiums that cost to the employee. But when I try to apply that savings, and we've been called, I say we, when I was a selectman, we were called on that using the word savings, and I have to, now looking at it, I have to agree 100%. And I'll just take two budgets that were presented last week, and just because I happen to have those budgets. But the budget for the transfer station and the highway department showed a minor increase, I guess. One was 5%, and the other one was 3-point-something%. But the reality is that the savings that were in those two budgets, the transfer station and the highway department, savings in health insurance, were gobbled up. And they were gobbled up to the point where we didn't see any savings. In addition to what was proposed as an increase of $14,000, it was also an increase because of the decrease in health insurance. So that disappeared. And in my mind, when I look at the operational cost, it actually went up 8% and 7.6% in both departments. And my suggestion or my request to the board would be if we could take those administrative costs out of each department, specifically healthcare, and put them under the selectmen's office, then we'd be able to see the savings readily. And they would be used as a kind of a buffer to show that to indicate there's a decrease in the operational costs. There's actually an increase. The money that you were saving, which say $30,000 in healthcare costs, is gone. The budget went up $14,000, but you got to add $30,000 to it. Really, it's a $44,000 increase. My numbers aren't right. They relatively are. There's a $44,000 increase in operational costs. See, already used the money we saved from health insurance. What?
Go ahead.
I'm not following you.
I'm trying.
I think
Are you talking
I
about
follow you.
two different? When you talk about
Did you-
administrative
you
costs,
follow me?
I think so.
you're not talking about administering a health plan. You're talking about administering the town. Is that correct? When you,
No,
I'm not sure.
I feel as though that the Board of Selectmen should assume that control over healthcare, because the department heads don't have any control over it, and to some extent you don't either. I mean, it's dictated by. But the savings that we put in place over the past few years through collective bargaining agreements, as well as negotiating, changing the personnel policy, resulted in savings.
And we're not seeing them because the
They-
increases from the other parts of their budget are
Offsetting
wiping out
that.
those savings.
Right.
You're saying if we put those healthcare into the selectman's office, then any increases that would go to the budget would be directly to that department head.
Would
and
directly
We
represent
would
it.
actually see the savings because they'd be in the healthcare, it'd be under the selectmen.
I wish I had said
Am I
that.
following
I
that?
wish I had said that.
Is that what you meant?
I heard that come out of your mouth,
Hey,
so I just repeated what you said. Is that what you're,
That's what I'm
Is take,
asking.
is to take everybody's health care and put it under selectmen for health.
Yeah, because I don't think, and I was discussed about 15 years ago with Chief Rigney. He wanted those administrative costs out of his budget because he had no control over it. And I have to agree, the department heads do not have any control over it. So any increases in the department budget with that out, in my mind, are really truly operational increases for the operating budget within that person's area of responsibility.
because the savings makes it look like,
So you want to see a more accurate percentage increase?
Well, it's if you look at it from a pure accounting standpoint, the numbers are right that were presented. I mean, the difference between last year and this year, you know, but, you know, we had, I don't know where my papers went, but we had about $18,000 in savings. And they're not there. Because he increased his budget by 18, plus 14, these are relative numbers, that have a total of like, it was really operationally, it's a $32,000 increase in his operating.
is that something like that?
Well, I'm not,
You
I'm
still
just,
see those lines coming in wherever they come in, controlled or not. So you see if from one year to the next that line gets reduced, but the bottom line of that department goes up. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure out.
Well, I know that, Keith, but I think a lot of people key off the percentage. And when you look at 5% versus a 7.4%, or 3% versus an 8%, because the 8% represents the money that we saved that was eaten, and plus the increase.
But do the voters not vote on the bottom line total budget in the warrant article as a
yeah,
percentage?
what-
And it would be the same regardless where the numbers were in the shell
It
game?
wouldn't be, it's kind of a shell game. I think I used that once. But it's, I think it's more reflective of what the department head has control over. It's increasing the department head's budget, but including healthcare costs. And I think any changes in the department budget that also utilizes a decrease in healthcare costs, whether consciously or subconsciously, they say, well, listen, I can go another 10,000 because I saved 10. So, and I don't know how you weed that out,
Yeah,
but
there's an offset. There's an offset by having the savings in healthcare. And
we just don't see you use the
Yeah.
word savings. And I would never use the word savings because I don't know how many times I've heard, you
I
know,
bet
we're
you
gonna
did.
save here, save there, and, you know, it's kind of like the federal government. It's kind of like my wife. I saved you $100 today. So, great, how'd you do that? A dress for $300 and knocked down to $200, so I saved you $100. I don't think it's being done intentionally, but I think just from a management standpoint, that it's something that you have control over, it's healthcare costs, to some extent, in terms of how you set the policy and how you work the collective bargaining agreements. So I think that should fall under the selectmen's budget.
I mean, just a question, Beth, can we put them all in one?
You can, but what he's talking about is you have to move the wages, is that not a department head's control? Retirement, that's not a department.
It's the whole part that you presented
The
to us way
right,
months ago.
Payroll.
and then we froze.
We
Yeah.
looked at that separate months ago, and
Oh,
then
you did?
we
Yeah.
broke the budget out separately. Beth came in before the department heads had their proposed budgets to kind of let us know what the wages and insurance and all that was going to be, because, like you just said, they don't have control over that anyway. Those
Yeah.
numbers are generated by Beth based on the law and the agreements, and so she presented those
It's just
before
that
we get the whole
the
budget.
cost of an employee is part of the operational cost of the department.
so would
It is.
healthcare be?
Hmm?
So would healthcare be? I mean, it's a benefit.
No, I don't see it. I don't see the healthcare being a direct cost, operational cost. I see it as a cost to the town, and I think, to me, it should be centralized and be part of the selectmen's budget. That's all. I mean, it's just a,
It's something for the selectmen to think about and discuss.
yeah. I wonder if I could stand here. There's no
He's
public
next.
comment.
Is he? Right. He is back on the agenda.
He's next, unless there's no
Is
more.
there any other public comment? Anybody wanna kick Dick off the
Oh.
mountain?
He'll just sit right there.
Does Finance Committee weigh in on this? That cost for the insurance definitely, in most corporations in the private sector, your insurance costs are always kept in a different account than from what you're actually doing with your projected costs for the department. And when we're looking at it from the Finance Committee side of it, we're looking at what it actually takes to run that department and how it's functioning. But your insurance costs actually should be off and away from that, so we can get a better handle as to what is the real cost of this and is it justified. It would make it easier for us and a much cleaner picture. So that's where I'm weighing in.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we're gonna go to, do you have something you wanna add?
No, I was just asking, the benefit would be.
Depends how you look at it. I'm sure there'll be different opinions. Next on the agenda is department head committee items, and recognize Richard Butt for the cable committee.
Thank you. At the last cable committee meeting, we discussed how we can maybe improve communication and improve Channel 6 visibility. I don't know what percentage of the people in town don't have Comcast, but let's just say it's at least 30%, I guess. At the public hearing, we've heard people make comment about they didn't know about the public hearing until they drove by and saw the sign on the town hall, which is good. At least somebody noticed them. So Doug Alwine, who came up with an idea about putting a TV in the town office, and this basically the bulk of this is in support of that. And have it run something very similar to the bulletin board. We talked about it and decided that, at least tentatively, that it would probably be better located in the clerk's office, since the majority of people who come into the town office go in the clerk's office. I've reviewed it with Naomi and also with the town clerk, Maureen Bilodeau. And, well, if you have 5 people in there asking them where they put the TV, you get 5 different responses, but we think we can get it in there. I'm not sure what we'll all, we just want to make it visible when you walk in there so people can see it and get information on public hearings, and, especially with the budget coming up. The quality of the image on that TV, we're probably, although we need to discuss this a little bit further, will probably be done through, not through cable. We'll probably use a thumb drive or something to that effect and just plug it into the TV, and which would be generated from a lot of the information that's already on the bulletin. We're also thinking maybe putting some pictures in there too to help enhance it. So we're requesting money to be spent from the Capital Reserve Fund in support of that, which would include a television, a 28 or 32-inch TV, we're not sure. They're dirt cheap today. And a wall mount for the television. In addition to that, when you see members of the committee out filming remote broadcasts, like over at the town hall, they're actually using their own equipment when it comes to the tripods. So we have 2 cameras. We'd like to order 2 tripods as well for those cameras. And then we also want to order a couple of thumb drives for broadcasting on the TV in the clerk's office. It's an amount of not to exceed $500. There's currently $37,988 in that fund. So that's the request. Have any questions? Committee members here as well tonight.
Can you get a TV for under $500?
Mhm.
32
The TV is a small, $500 is like, we hope we won't get there. We're thinking 400. The TVs that we picked out, there's one for 129, which is 28-inch flat screen, and the other one is 32 for $150 or something like that.
I'll just make a motion, and then we can discuss it. Okay, I move that we approve the purchase of a flat screen TV wall mount for said television. 2 thumb drives?
Yes,
2 thumb drives and 2 camera tripods, for an amount not to exceed $500. And this would come from the Community Access Equipment Fund.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. Anybody have any questions? So, how long do you think the loop's gonna be, and how long is the wait on people in the clerk's office? Are they gonna be able
well,
to
right
see?
now it runs about 4 minutes. The committee needs to discuss how we're gonna program it, what type of information we want, but it's certainly not gonna be opinions, so I won't have anything to do with that. But it will be informational for people that walk in there. So it's probably gonna run about, the cycle will be about 4 minutes. It might be a little bit longer depending on what else we decide to put on there. There's some thought about putting some pictures of Weare, or pictures, if somebody has an event, putting some pictures of the event on there, or promoting an event, we can put some pictures on there. Anything to enhance people's opportunity to see what's going on in the town.
I assume it would be silent. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
music
probably will
playing.
be. Yeah, it'll be silent things. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't discuss it, but unless it's, are you opposed to the music that's on there now, or?
I'm not commenting on that. I just think that for the clerk's office, probably it would be better to be silent.
No, yeah, the intent was not to have any audio, yeah. And we plan on, if it's approved, we'll probably look and make pictures of equipment next week.
Oh, we got you right here, how's that fiber optic doing? Quite a while since I
Thanks.
hooked it up.
Any other discussion?
We're just waiting on Comcast on the fiber optic.
What?
On the fiber optic, he asked about this. I mean, I haven't heard back from Comcast yet. There's something they're waiting on.
Well, we're in the middle of a
Oh.
motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. I'll welcome you to ask the question, I didn't hear it.
I'd be glad to. Stephen Flanders, Chairman of the Cable Committee. I'm just wondering when Comcast is gonna get here to hook up our fiber optic upstairs. They've come in and put a unit in, the cable's all there. How long does it take them to get here to hook it up?
Well, we shared the same email, and the email, they were waiting on something on their end.
Have they got it yet?
And you know, I don't have that answer, so I would say they don't have it because Tim would have gotten back to me so that we could have it finished. But my bigger concern was getting it finished so that we're ready for town meeting, which is February
Yeah,
6th.
that's coming
And
right
I've been
up.
assured that we'll have it ready for February 6th, so it should.
They assured you of that?
That's
Did
what
they give it
Brian
to you-
Christensen.
Did they give it to you in writing?
I have it on an email upstairs in one of them.
Okay,
So I haven't heard anything more, Steve.
thank you.
Mhm.
Now, at this time, I'll recognize Department of Public Works Director Tim Redmond to discuss a gate on Balch Road.
That actually got canceled.
Yeah.
I sent you guys out an
Oh, yeah.
email about that. We've discovered that one.
Hauling contractors insurance and a bond on South Sugar Hill Road, etc.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Tim Redmond, Public Works. Naomi, do you want to make any comments on the ball chill gate about the correspondence we received?
I just forwarded the email to the board. There was some discussion when there's an item on the agenda, as you can all see, the gate on Balch Road. And so when we set the agenda, I reached out to Conservation, and there was a lot of emails that went back and forth amongst the Conservation. And one of them had an email from Paul Dosher back in 2012, indicated that the town meeting voted to discontinue Balch Hill Road, which is why there has a gate there. So the gate that we thought was an issue is not an issue because the road was discontinued. So that was the long and short answer, so that's why it's not on, and you don't see Conservation here.
So is the board satisfied with the answers from the town forester and the?
It's not a town road, right?
I don't know.
It was
I didn't
discontinued
research-
at town
I did
meeting.
not research the minutes.
Well, I would say Paul Dosher was very well into and so was Bobby Reeve at the time. He's a forest manager, so I didn't go downstairs and look through 15 or 20 years of town reports, so.
Neither did I. So I would have to say you're taking all of this at people's word. And if you're satisfied with that, then as far as I'm
2012.
concerned, I won't pursue it anymore.
What's the board's pleasure on that?
It's fine with me. If there's somebody out there who doesn't agree, we'll hear it.
We'll hear about it.
Right,
There you go.
Okay, while we're on the subject of town forest, I did receive a memo from the town forester about a parcel of land that the town owns on Chevy Hill Road, which is off of Shady Hill. They're planning a timber cut off of that property. They've made requests to make some major changes to the end of the road there at the turning area in order to accommodate traffic for tractor trailers and forestry equipment. It will be a major undertaking for them to fill an area long enough for a tractor trailer to pull out and be able to back into the job site. There's gonna be a lot of trees cut and a lot of filling and grading done, and as long as the board is aware that they're requesting this, I don't feel that I should grant the authority to do that on my own, because it will have a major impact on the area out there.
Are the abutters made aware of this?
I didn't contact them. I think it's up to the forester to contact people when they wanna do this stuff.
And this is on town property they're looking to do this?
Apparently, if it's town property, we're learning to extend the road, yes. So, but it's gonna be a fairly large area. The area's big enough now for the town truck to turn around and come back out. But we're talking about tractor trailers that wanna turn around there and back into the site.
It's like a lollipop.
So what I could do is I could request the town forester to provide me with some drawings that are gonna be relevant to what they wanna do before we grant permission to go in there and do a lot of earthwork and tree cutting to
Well, I
accommodate
think at
this.
a minimum, and I think we would probably want to make the residents of
Aware.
that neighborhood aware and invite them to come in and
Comment.
have a public hearing on it. Just the thoughts off the top of my head. I don't know, Naomi, what's
Mhm.
required,
At
but
the end of that cul-de-sac, there's houses on both.
It's a hammerhead, it's just a hammerhead type arrangement, and there is a single house on the right-hand side, which is
There's a-
directly adjacent to where the area would be.
Now, across the street, there isn't one?
They're up on the
that goes up?
hillside, way up in the back.
Yeah, but their driveway wouldn't be impacted by
No,
that?
the driveway is at least 100 feet prior to any areas that would be disturbed.
Okay.
So I just didn't want to authorize a large-scale cutting and excavating project on the end of that road without the board's acknowledgement.
and this is a timber cut on private property? Or?
Town property, town
property.
forest.
Oh, well, even more so. I think we need to.
Is there a start date on your email? Because I know
believe
that.
they were putting the project out to bid at this time.
Yeah, there was a meeting in October, and the trees that were going to be harvested were tagged. I don't know where that is at this point, but I do know that was in October. They had to meet, and now I'm not sure when they're going to take bids. That's all. I didn't know if you knew.
They did ask me for formal comments, which I have not made as of yet. I was waiting until I had a chance to talk to the board. And I did get a reminder from the town forester today, attached to the email that was regarding the Balch Hill Road gate.
We'll have to see. I'll have to reach out to Andy and see what the intent is for. I don't know when bids were due. I knew they were just looking at it. So
Even if they receive bids, and
right.
it doesn't mean they have to start.
So
What-
I can
what-
get a project timeline from
What's
him
the
and
rest
see.
of the board think about the procedure here?
Well, I agree, we need more information
Mm.
as far as what they're doing, more specifics.
Correct.
The impact of the end of that road.
And who's providing that fill?
The forester and the contractor who was awarded the bid has to make the appropriate
Okay,
accommodations for their equipment.
okay,
It'd be no cost to the town.
Okay.
It's just that it's gonna be a fairly large project, and I'm certain that we'll have words with neighbors if we don't at least go
Mhm.
through it by the steps.
sure.
I agree.
Okay, in regards to the solid waste haulers, I just want to make sure that the board is aware that I am going to require that under the new application for a hauling license for the town of Weare, there is a note where they'll have to fill out and provide proof of insurance for their vehicles as they come and go from the transfer station. I would just be concerned that a commercial vehicle at the transfer station could possibly have an encounter with a citizen and an injury occur, and I want to be sure that if we are issuing a hauling license on town documents to a hauler, that they have the proper.
Do you have any reason to believe that any of them don't have that?
I don't have any reason, as I've never asked.
Okay.
I just know that I did contact Primex and talk with them, and I did have an email from them back in July stating that it would be their opinion that we should require insurance from anyone who we issue a solid waste hauler's license to operate on town property. We do require contractors who do work for the town to provide certificates of insurance, so not that far a stretch to go that route with these. So their licenses are due in February, so I will have the documents prepared and have the license actually altered slightly to include a section for insurance. And if the board wants to see it, otherwise I'll just run it by Naomi and she can make a decision on whether it's done correctly or not.
Thoughts?
It's fine.
Work through Naomi.
Okay. The last thing is, we have an application for another logging permit out on South Sugar Hill Road. You may remember we had a resident in here recently that brought to our attention the damage to Sugar Hill South as a result of the logging that was going on out in the Dunbar Road area. The same person has 2 permits for that area open at this time. One of the permits, I went and called the applicant and told them that there was damage to the road that needed to be repaired. And I marked the road with paint and the areas that need to be repaired, and I've had no further contact, and the road has not been repaired. Well, this applicant is asking for another application to log another large section of the area out there. And I believe that we should, at this time, require a bond from this applicant. Had they repaired the road in a timely fashion with no problems, I wouldn't be here talking about this right now. But I think it's apparent that it's already damaged, and with no action, I feel that we should move forward with a bond.
Will they be using the same pieces of road?
In the same vicinity, they're all within a very tight proximity to each other.
I'm wondering if that might be, that thought process is, we're just gonna run back over it again and damage it again, so let's fix it at the end of.
No, the area that I marked is an area that is completed and has been
Okay,
totally completed, and they vacated that site.
okay. Yeah,
Do you have any idea how much you would think would be an appropriate bond?
I think a bond should be in between $10,000 and $15,000, only because there is damage to the entrance at Route 77, where the tractor trailers have all been making a right turn to head up the line towards Concord. A resident actually was either at my office or at this meeting. I know they were at my office. I don't know if they did.
With photos?
yes,
Yes.
Mhm.
yes.
Right, so this is on the record now that there's been damage by their vehicles and no opportunity nothing's been done about it. And they've been requested to make repairs.
And your conversations with them about making repairs was?
It was very civil and
Yeah.
requestful, and it sounded like something was gonna happen, but nothing has happened, so I take that as a indicator that nothing is going to happen. So,
We had required a bond for the hauling of lumber over Mountain School Road, was it?
yes, we did bond
What did we ask for?
50.
$50,000.
Oh, probably don't need that amount, because we were worrying about a bridge there as well.
We did have concerns about a large diameter culvert that could have been damaged, and It was a long, long way down to the state highway from over there.
Hmm.
So there was a lot more road involved, and the road was in pretty bad shape to begin with, and I did inspect on a regular basis. There was no additional damage to the road, and I did write a letter to Naomi to request that we release that bond when they were complete.
Did we request that through a motion last time?
For the bond,
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
I believe it was because the gentleman was here as well.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion. You make.
I move that we require a bond of $15,000 for the logging operation off from Sugar Hill Road,
Sugar Hill South.
Sugar Hill South, okay.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 That concludes it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, don't go too far. Next on the agenda is a discussion on no-through trucking. So this started with some discussion about trucking on Thorndike and Hodgson Road, and we wanted to open it up to a much larger, broader discussion about all the roads in the town of Weare. Talking about a map. We have the entire
Tim
town,
drew
but-
them. Tim drew the. Tim, go ahead and talk about your map. They all have it. What you're looking at for a map has highlighted. The red dot represents at the very bottom of your sheet represents where Hodgson comes out onto 149, and at the very top where the other red dot is not Page Hill, but at the other red dot is when it comes out onto Reservoir Drive at. Is that 114?
Yeah, the middle dot is where Thorndike actually starts, where it separates from Reservoir at the fork
Okay.
there.
This dot here
And
is
then the
this.
other, the dot by the word Concord Stage Road is where Reservoir then intersects Route 114.
There you go. So if you're going to close trucking or through trucking on Thorndike and Hodgson, the Tim can discuss his thought from there. But then you're going to push the traffic to two places, on Concord Stage Road or North Stark Highway, and then over on 149. So I'll let Tim go from there.
Before we get too much into the specifics of this one, I guess I was anticipating this discussion was going to be a little bit a larger one, where we kind of looked at the whole town, because this is looking at something at a real microscopic level.
Right,
in a
but this is the
vacuum.
one. This is a request to close those two, not every road in town.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
But the discussion was going to include the entire town and looking at which roads are appropriate for through trucking, and look at the town on a macro level rather than just this micro level.
To see what the impact from
Not just this
closing this road.
But this is the only request you have for a request.
Right, but we requested a broader discussion. And I thought we talked to that,
Okay.
the public works director and the police chief were gonna kind of brainstorm and have a discussion on, you know, a little bit more broad on the whole town, on the roads in the whole town.
Okay.
Am I remembering that wrong? I mean, I thought that's what we.
No, I think you're right. My, I won't say concern, but point of discussion was that if we close off one road, whether it's the Thorndike, Hodgson, or someplace else in town, we have to look carefully at where the traffic from there is going to be directed to, because we might just be switching the problem from one place to another. For example, closing those roads might very well increase traffic on Reservoir Drive if there are trucks going from Mount William, Inc. to Deering. The Deering highway trucks haul from there. So what route are they going to take? They're either going to have to go down and take 149 off the other side of Country 3, or they're going to take Reservoir Drive. So if we address one without addressing the other, then what are going to be the repercussions? I mean, my guess is the truck that would normally have gone up Thorndike will go straight out Reservoir Drive and out through East Deering and hook on 149 that way. So you're directing the traffic past the lake area. Not you, but that's what we would be doing by closing one. So those are the types of things that we have to look at if we close a road. Where's, I'm not speaking for or against, I'm just saying the conscientious thing to do is, where's that traffic going to go if we close a road to through trucking? And Keith, you're right, I think we were looking at something broader as part
That's
of
gonna
this.
take a long time, though.
Well, I thought we would just have.
Well, I thought we were gonna address it in 2 steps. This was what your original request was.
Right.
And then to look at the whole map, you're gonna have to play out scenario by scenario. For instance, let me just throw out what you just talked about a minute ago. If you're gonna log at the end of Chevy Hill, they're gonna come out Chevy Hill, take a left onto Shady Hill, and now they got no place to go. Because you've got Thorndike and Hodgdon that intersect, so they're gonna go through somewhere. So where do you send them? Down Flanders? I don't think so.
If there's a logging operation on Chevy Hill, say,
Yeah.
that truly isn't true through trucking.
That would-
That's
Well,
that's a
Where does the
specific
road
site.
stop and one start?
No, that is through trucking on one of those roads.
It's got to be through trucking on one of those
And or
streets,
Thorndike.
unless you send them down Flanders.
It's actually both, because they all intersect at Shady Hill.
Right.
Correct.
So you're either going to through truck on Hodgdon, or you're going to through truck on Thorndike to get to
I thought the
77.
discussion was trucks coming from 149, going through all these roads and coming out on
Yeah.
114, continuing north.
Well,
Coming from-
see, that's
So
your
I don't think-
interpretation. That wasn't mine, but that's
So I
okay.
guess the way I envisioned this discussion happening was a large map of the entire town.
Yeah.
Identify the points at the borders where people could go through,
Mm-hmm.
connect those dots where we think, and then look at secondary roads from there, but branch out from there. This being one of them, but
Mhm.
being one of many, because as Tom said,
Mm-hmm.
if we just look at this one, what are the ramifications of that?
Well, I, for this one, if we did make a decision on this and we decided to close it, I think we ought to seriously consider closing Reservoir Drive as well, because otherwise we're going to direct a sizable amount of traffic right up by the lake, which is not the best scenario in the summertime, or any time really, because of the hills there as well.
Corners.
Same thing
Yeah, I
with
mean, it's not,
running them down Flanders. That's not ideal either.
No, some sharp turns and
Going
steep.
up
Right,
over the hill.
right. But that undertaking is going to take a scenario from a lot of places.
Yeah.
So I guess the idea was that we had one request in front of us, and I guess we can take the next step, but it's going to take you guys a while to figure that out, correct? Tim, Sean, that's going to take you guys that's going to take a while to take the whole town map and figure out where you're going to.
But I think we need to, because I think if we don't, then we're, let's just use this by closing Thorndike,
Mhm.
through trucking, we're pushing that traffic somewhere. And we're doing that without doing any kind of studying as to where this is gonna go.
Yeah, but I guess I'm not, we can do whatever we need to do, but I'm just looking at, this is one case.
I
So if
understand.
somebody else comes in with another one,
Well,
and
that-
another one, and another one, I could see studying the whole town.
But here's what's gonna, that's my point, is if we close down Thorndike to no through trucking,
Mm-hmm.
soon we'll have a request from no through trucking on
Oh,
Reservoir.
Right, you're going
And then
to.
soon we'll have a no through trucking on,
Mhm. Right.
We can't, I don't think.
If we look at it ahead of time.
Okay.
Before we make a decision on this one.
Okay.
Then those other requests would kind of already be determined already.
I'm not sure we have to, I agree that we did talk about that. I don't think we have to do the whole town in order to make a decision on this, but we do have to look at roads like Reservoir, like Flanders Memorial Drive, because those would be natural routes that people may take. But separating that out and through trucking is just that. It's not going from an operational site to get out to a main road. I
Mhm.
mean,
If somebody had a cut on Thorndike Road, they're gonna use Thorndike.
they're
Road.
gonna
Right,
use
it's not
Thorndike
through,
Road, or
right.
if they,
But if the roads intersect at Shady Hill and you post through trucking on both streets, that log truck's got to get out somehow. Unless,
but that's not, what
Right.
I'm saying is, that's not really through trucking, that's just completing a job and having to get away from the job and deliver
Well, if you-
the
but-
goods.
all right,
No, it's still through trucking.
it's still
You're
through
gonna need to have
trucking.
an exemption for that truck, it's still through trucking.
Because you're going to start at a point of this is one. Hang on, okay?
Yeah.
You're going to start at Thorndike, at here, because Thorndike starts right here. If he wants to go to 77, he's got to go the whole length of Thorndike. That's through. If he wants to start here and go to 149, he's going the whole length of Hodgdon Road. So that's
So that's
through
the point,
trucking.
That's still through trucking.
That's
either
still
those
through
roads.
trucking. I understand coming out in the middle and going one way or another, that's fine. Don't have an issue with that. I do have the issue of one or the other is through. So their only alternative at that intersection is to come down Flanders
Which is not
with all
safe.
those log trucks.
So that's perfect. That's the perfect kind of discussion
Right.
we need to have when we look
Right,
at it.
right, okay.
I don't think we can do that with.
No, you can't. And I looked at just this because that's the request you have for this in front of you. That's what we looked at.
And this is what was the catalyst to the larger request.
Okay.
I still disagree with the definition.
That's
of
okay, we
through
can
trucking
disagree.
here. And because if you have, whether it's a logging operation or, let's say somebody's building a house and they
Right.
need fill
Yeah,
in their lot,
right.
and they go the length of Thorndike to get onto
Mhm.
Shady Hill Road.
Correct.
Well, what alternative they have? You can't bring it in by helicopter. They've got to take that road.
Right.
But if they're going from a gravel pit on River Road and they're going to Deering,
Yep.
and they take these through
Right.
roads, that's truly
Right.
through trucking in the sense of using that as their major route, having nothing to do with a job site that's in between.
Correct.
So that's where I would make the distinction there.
Because there's going to have to be a lot of thought out with subdivisions that are still not built as to, houses that could be built. And there's just a lot more than, this request is going to have to sit on the little burner because I just thought we would address it one at a time, understanding that you want to see the whole town, but understanding too that, we haven't moved on this in a while, but to do the whole town is going to be a while.
Well, it's gonna, it is, but, we can't just say, not in my backyard.
Oh,
you
I
know, and then
completely,
move it
I
to
get
someone
that.
else's
Sure.
backyard.
Because they're going to crop up all
I
over.
think we need to,
Right.
take
And
a
that
look.
definition, if there's a delivery, okay, somebody wants a load of bark mulch, and they we'll keep on with Shady Hill Road, and the truck goes from over here to up Memorial Drive to get there,
Mhm.
there's no other alternative. But it doesn't mean that they're using it constantly as a commercial route.
Right.
But they're making a delivery.
Mhm.
I don't know how we distinguish that.
I guess that's, I need the definition of what through,
Right, and that's what
Road is.
Tom's saying.
through trucking. I guess that's where I.
And it's typically it's a commercial vehicle, which by RSA is over 26,000 pounds. That's a commercial vehicle if you're looking at the commercial
Yeah, I'm
code.
just looking for what's the, I understand what the concept of through trucking is, but I
Mhm.
don't have the definition.
Do you understand, Tim, what we're looking for our discussion?
I understand what you're looking for, but I think it's gonna be a matter of law that the police chief is gonna have to address more than semantics over whether you can go from one point to another.
I guess I was looking at your input for, I'm gonna claim truthfully, I'm ignorant of every detail of all the miles we have in town of every road. You have a much greater working knowledge of that than I do, and I would guess than any other board member does. So I thought in collaboration with the chief of police, as we're proposing a route, well, this could be the route that we would allow, that you would be able to step in and say, probably not the best road because of X, Y, and Z. There's a hairpin turn there that you're not considering, or the grade is such that it wouldn't make sense, and that kind of discussion. I don't envision this as being a discussion that happens and gets resolved in a half hour like a sitcom or a TV show. This is something that's gonna take thought and I think needs to be worked at.
I think it's a matter of trying to regulate truck traffic that's avoiding using the state highway system by using the town roads to get from point A to point B.
Correct.
I think that's at the bottom of the whole discussion.
It sure is. Yep.
If there are state highway routes that are available to the truckers, and if they're gonna utilize a town road to bypass the state highway system, especially if the truck is not originating in the town because they're not generating any tax dollars to the town. If it's a timber cut and there's money coming to the town and they're using town roads, the money does come to the town in one way or another. It doesn't ever actually get to the highway department. But it seems to me that the basis is to truckers that are trying to avoid using the state highways. You certainly can't make Thorndike and Hodgson a no-through trucks because the Towns family has a gravel pit at the beginning of Thorndike Road. If they have to do a job up on Shady Hill Road, you certainly are not going to prohibit them from being able to use the road that their property is borders in front of.
Right.
And, you know, it's going to come to law, and it's going to come to how much you really want to. Because if you want to do what it sounds like needs to be done, there's going to be an awful lot of no-through truck roads in town of Weare. Because we are dissected by 3 state highways in sections.
That may be okay.
Well, that's a board decision, obviously. But I'm just saying, it's going to be an awful lot. I mean, right off the top of my head, you've got Twin Bridge Road and the road into New Boston are already posted no-through trucks because people were using that Twin Bridge to get over to 77. So they just shifted up to Gould Road. So now Gould Road is the through truck road. And then
So that's exactly why we need to have the broader discussion, right?
it's up to you. I'm happy to sit with the police chief and mark up a map and see if it'll work. We did have a discussion, Chief Kelly and I did, but we didn't have the direction that we thought we needed, so that's why there's no fruit at this point.
Is there more clear,
Oh, it's clear now.
okay, direction?
It's perfect.
Okay.
I would suggest to you that you shouldn't expect a response from us for months. Think of the discussion we're having about one intersection. To adequately look at this, I don't think Tim and I can do that alone. I think we've got to ask for the input of the community.
I think the fire department should also be involved, because he's the other major department.
Well, we drive trucks, so it might impact us.
Yeah, you can't take a fire truck on certain roads.
I don't know if we
It's commercial vehicles.
And then there's the whole issue of how you're gonna enforce it, which is gonna fall to my comrade right here. And I do know from prior employment with a different town, you have to actually enact an ordinance. Sorry.
Thank you.
If you're gonna have no-through trucking, you're gonna have to enact an ordinance, number it, and have the ordinance posted at the bottom of the no-through trucking sign. So you're gonna have some fairly significant expense for signage. And if you drive through the town of Bedford and you find a no-through trucking road, you'll find the ordinance is posted clearly at the bottom of the sign, and that is required by law, so that the people who are violating the signs know they're breaking the law and it's an enforceable action by the police department.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll recognize, sure. Just go to the podium, please.
Yes, my name is Peter Ashworth, and I'm probably one of the forces behind this all. I've made a list of the different roads in town that are posted no through trucking right now. And I think Sugar Hill Road's on one also. Duck Pond Road, Twin Bridge Road, Old Town Road, Peasley Hill Road, Rockland Drive, Page Hill Road, John Connor Road. And if you're driving through Goffstown and you come up to Parker Station Road, the end of that is posted, but it's the town of Goffstown, but effectively it closes that road going through there, so for the narrow road for the traffic that goes by. I would like to see something done. I think it's a hazard. I think I've seen the road just deteriorate quite a bit from what's going on. You can see the big trucks coming down the road, and the road's so narrow in front of my house. When there's another car, they'll take that big truck and they'll run one wheel off the road, so all the weight of that vehicle on the back is going under the side of the road and is destroying the edge of the road. And it was just paved, 2 or 3 years ago. So it's gonna cost the town money to have the roads fixed again. So it would be a saving to do that, to be able to keep the keep the traffic down of trucking on those roads, because it's costing us money. The other thing is, as I mentioned, Tom mentioned while we were talking about this a while ago, putting a stop sign at the end of Thorndike, and stop signs at the corner of Quaker Street and Thorndike Road. I have spoken with some of the neighbors, and their feelings is that it would be a very good idea, because the trucks just go racing through there, and they don't stop, and don't have any regard for, the people coming the other way.
So that's at the end of Thorndike at Shady Hill? So,
Yes, it's Clinton Grove, yeah.
No, Quaker Street, is it?
Oh, Quaker Street also.
oh, okay.
Quaker Street intersects Thorndike.
Yep.
It will be a very good four-way stop there, because people come, screaming down there. If you've walked down there, taking your dog down there, it becomes quite, jump for your life.
Where did you get that list of roads? Did you drive around and notice signs?
I drove around in the course of my time, yeah.
Would you mind sharing that with Naomi so that she can?
I got some of them.
She'll have to put up with my bad head.
Well, I guess I could do that.
I have a suspicion she can manage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Concerning the stop sign on the corner of Thorndike and Shady Hill, again, I'm one person's view on that, but I was headed from Clinton Grove toward Shady Hill, came to the stop sign that's there, and again, I've seen this many times because I take that route to my son's house quite often. The traffic coming down Thorndike, headed into Clinton Grove, doesn't stop, and they're headed downhill. They're often going fast. So it's a side issue here, but I do think that, personally, I think it would be a good idea to have a stop sign there coming from Thorndike as well as coming from Hodgson at that intersection.
I do recall Chief Deegan at one point saying that he thought having a stop sign there would be dangerous at the winter time, only because it is down a slight hill. If you've got
Sliding
somebody
through.
stop there,
I agree 100%.
the next vehicle coming down over the hill, it's more likely to cause an accident. I remember that being his reasoning for not having one there, but
I would still agree.
There are a lot of,
certainly we can have chiefs input on that.
seems like there are a lot of roads where you have to stop at the foot of the hill. I mean, I don't think that would be unique.
Well, discussion that.
Yeah, it's a different.
Anything else on this?
You ain't got enough time tonight.
Well, yeah, I think we
Yeah.
further discussion.
We're just gonna table it.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, can I just clarify? You're going to table it until we'll just keep checking in with them.
Right.
Okay. Gotcha.
Now, this can't be tabled until after a certain retirement happens.
That'll get done.
Okay, I think that's all you needed them for, right?
Yeah, I think we're all set with.
Yep.
the chief.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
So now we're up to Maplewall Road driveway building permit request.
Yep.
And we recognize Mike Walton.
Yes, Mike. You guys got what I sent you, correct?
Yes.
I sent you guys stuff. You actually got stuff in the last package that had to do with Mike?
Hi, this is Mike Walton and Yvonne Walton. And what we're doing, we're requesting a building permit for a driveway / road for 280 Maplewell Road.
We purchased the lot in 2007, and it's a 5+ acre lot, part of an original 33-acre parent tract that has been subdivided at least 4 times since 1988. When we bought it, it had a right-of-way easement for the driveway, and it's listed as that clearly on the deed. So we purchased it, we cleared, we had it surveyed. We moved the barn onto a slab with the town's okay. We put the septic system on the property, the town's okay, and was licensed by the New Hampshire Department of Pollution Control and whatever. And we even had electric power lines brought up to the property, again, in full compliance and permitted with the town. And we were unable to build the house that we wanted to immediately. It was gonna be a mother-in-law house. My mother died, then his mother died. So now we want to use the lot to build our retirement home, a single family, about 2,000 square feet. And when the builder that we contracted came to the town to get the permit, all of a sudden, lo and behold, we understand that there's some problems that we're still not really too clear about. But Chip Meany said that he wanted to have the town legal counsel, Drescher and Dockmo, review it, and they came out with a 13-page paper as well as a 3+ page legal form. And their recommendation, or what I get from it, is that we should seek from the Board of Selectmen a permit so that you could review with the planning board if there's any issues. There's a condition that they talk about, a liability of, a waiver of municipal liability, which the attorney was nice enough to even make a form that said, this is the form that you need to register with the deeds. So that was wonderful. He also says that it would need a variance from the frontage requirements from the zoning board. I understand that the reason we are here today is just to initiate this with you folks. So I don't know, I apologize in advance that we didn't prepare umpteen copies of this, but.
They already have it,
Oh,
yeah.
good,
Yeah.
good.
I sent it to him.
Is there any questions you have, or anything else we need to, I don't know.
Do you
how
guys
much-
need to
We
look
had
at
the
the,
fire chief come up, and we expanded the road by 20, I know, he looked at it. We expanded the road by 25, 26 feet wide. We've got 3 turnarounds. Other than the very beginning, which we planned on actually improving a lot, we actually stopped because of this. And various other things actually just stopped. I had one more power pole to put in, stopped because of this variance. And, you know, we've all had, everything was positive, but now we just have to stop everything.
We understand that the town, we never expected the town to be responsible, liable for any
Right.
portion of that. We intended to plow, we had it improved at our own cost. I mean, and it's a better entranceway, in my opinion, many of the dirt roads I've driven down. So I hope it's just a matter of going through the process. We are willing and hope to comply with any requirements that you have about improvement or fixing or doing or necessity, but we'd like to start it because it's been put off such a long time that it's a burden to us financially, as well as, you know, and every other reason you can imagine. Our house has almost been put on the market several times, and then we're still living out of boxes after a year and a half now. So
That could happen even after you move.
I'm sure it could. I'm sure it could. But we'd like to be able to build in 2016, and we'd like to work with Dick Benson from Sticks and Bricks. He's the president of the Home Builders Association and came well recommended. So we'd love to hear what you folks recommend and need us to do, and make your recommendations for us.
Nobody wanted to take responsibility and say, you need this, and now we're starting to get it.
Right.
And we just need to go forward.
So just lead us by the hand. We'd like to.
Yeah, please.
I thought, the way I understood it, that was, they have to come here before us
yeah.
to go then to refer to planning board, which
Yes.
Right.
doesn't
We were
make a lot of
told.
So I
sense to
hope this
me.
will
Well,
initiate things,
right,
though. Is that?
Right, there, you see on page 11, did you get the 13 pages from the attorney
Yes.
Chip shared with you? It gives the process starting at
Process to
71, right.
Yes.
So they're here on 71, and then it says they may grant, but only after review and comment from the planning board. And the reason for the review and comment, it's my understanding, is the planning board is familiar with road conditions, road layouts. So once we get a comment back, it then bounces back to us to, as the process says through here. So I initiated to get Mike and Yvonne to come in. And actually, the attorney here is next for the same type of situation on Wordley Road. And just so we can get them started, because the planning board only meets twice, and they're going to meet the 10th and the 17th, and we just want to keep the bus moving.
So can they get on the agenda for the 10th?
I don't know. Did you talk to Chip?
I'm open.
Yeah, well, I don't make his agenda, so I'm not,
This is where we have to go first.
right, so that's tomorrow I can say that they've gone here and go to the planning board.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just following what we were instructed to do.
You have the plan.
I have the plan for any of you that, I didn't share this in color at all, but this, you're in the pink lot, right?
Yes.
So the driveway's down here in Maplewald, comes all the way up and over, and actually goes up further because there's access to this lot, and this lot, through this long driveway, roadway, whatever, that they're going to. But they purchased it that way.
And we have, grandfathered in originally at that point,
Right.
but we
Was a bona fide gift.
expanded it
Right.
and
Yes.
made it wider.
Yep.
It's actually wider than some
And it's
of
actually a
Maple.
deeded access as well. There will be, at the planning board, probably the fire chief would have to weigh in some
That's fine.
sort.
Whatever it takes, we just
Yeah,
be
but
happy
the-
to comply.
You gotta get off
200
first
feet
base.
The 200 feet at the beginning of the road adjoining into Maple, we planned on increasing or making a lot better, because we want to make sure his truck can get back there in case of fires or whatever.
Yeah.
But we actually just stopped everything to do this.
Anybody have any questions?
Now, I talked to the chair of ZBA today. He called me, actually. And the process we're talking about is basically what he said, and that is this board has to seek information, not necessarily a decision from the
Yeah.
planning board, but information from the planning board before we can legally make a recommendation.
We understand that. It's-
But then, after that, you will still have to go to the
Because of the
ZBA
frontage.
in order to get a variance because you don't have the frontage requirement. And the other little kink in this that probably has to be worked out is that the zoning allows a shared driveway for two lots. So I don't know where that will fall out, but
There's no one else up there, but there's just the house there, right? There's nobody in those other two empty lots.
No, they're empty.
They're all empty.
One just is a campus there.
But I would guess that the
The other
two
is
would have to be
owned by-
defined, and then at some later time, if there's
Owned by
another.
the frontage owner and the
Yeah,
easement
Daniel
owner.
Lyrics with
Okay.
That back left one is owned by the person who owns the frontage.
Okay.
It's my sister.
Okay.
You have any questions for us?
I
So,
wanna apologize, I guess, for the red tape process to build a house on property you own.
It happens. It'll
It
be
is
worth
what it
it.
is, I
If
guess.
we
worth
can.
it.
We love the town. We've been improving it by planting plants and trees and everything. And we love the nature of the town, the quiet, the woods in the back. And we've lived almost 30 years in Derry and Londonderry and saw it where it started like this. And now it's almost like Manchester.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to retiring here. And I
retired here, myself
Hope we
designed a
can.
home,
Nice.
hopefully.
I think you can check that first step off. So it's-
thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And Mike, I have your phone number. I can
Yes.
stay in touch with you.
Thank
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And that must be Mike, Attorney Bernard.
Now recognize Attorney Mike Pinard for discussion of Worthley Road.
Yeah, actually, it's Mark Pinard.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's okay.
oh,
No
Mark,
problem.
Mike. Late for dinner.
Yeah, no problem. So, Worthley LLC owns a parcel up on Worthley Road.
Don't
It's
have
about
that
37 acres.
I don't have that map.
And
This one happened, yeah, first one was on.
I do have a couple of things to show you. I'm not going to burden you for time, but just a little bit of background. I was before the zoning board on this matter. The parcel is about 400 feet away from the Class 5 portion of the road, of Worthley Road. And there's about 400 feet of Class 6 road to get from where the road transitions up to the parcel where we want to be able to build. So this is the parcel, 37 acres. The blue area is the Class 6 portion of the road. This white portion is where Class 5 ends. And it's about 400 feet to get to the property from Class 6 road. We applied for a variance the ordinance prohibits building on the Class 6 road. So we applied for a variance to be able to build on the Class 6 road. The variance was granted subject to 3 conditions. First condition, a sign needs to be posted at the beginning of the Class 6 section of the road stating that it is a Class 6 road. Second condition, the deed recorded at Hillsborough Registry of Deeds that this section of Worthy Road is not a town-maintained road. And third, access to the Class 6 section of the road when leaving the Class 5 road to be constructed to level of Town of Ware's driveway standards. So variance is granted, there's no appeal, and we had a representative go to see Chip to get the building permit process going. And ironically,
He's in the same approval
We're in the
process,
same
but he's already
situation.
he didn't start here, he went down here first and got
Right.
the ZBA approval.
So I started ZBA based upon the fact that you can't build on this road. So now I can build on this road. However, and I'd like a copy of that too, Naomi, if possible. I haven't gotten that yet.
Well, this is for their particular case.
Understood, but if
Okay.
it's possible for me to get a copy, I guess it'd be helpful for me to know.
Can
what-
I just scan it and send it tomorrow?
Oh, please, yeah.
You need to redact the information from the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem. I just want to
Yeah.
know what the attorney's findings are.
Mhm.
So I'm not looking to take anything that's not, appropriate to be public.
Mhm.
So we're in the same situation as the folks up on Maple Walls. I guess we're a step ahead of them because we've been to ZBA, but we'd like to have the process commence to allow us to determine what the standards are for building that quote-unquote driveway or improving that section of the roadway. I've talked to the chief of the fire department. He's talked generally about what he thinks the width of the access way should be. He's given me the weight of the biggest truck in the fire department. So I've been talking to engineers about what we think we would suggest to the planning board for them to make a recommendation back to you folks. It's a nice piece of property. We've got somebody who'd like to build a single-family home up there. It's not going to be a subdivision. There's not going to be a lot of traffic. But it is something that's been sitting there vacant, and this would help to improve that property, and it would ultimately increase the tax base once that's built out up there. With that said, I think I've given you all the points that are relevant to my request, and we ask that we be put in that queue to move the process forward.
Any questions?
Your question?
Tim has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tim Redmond, Public Works. Where this proposed driveway is supposed to begin is a very narrow section of Worthley Road. There are 2 driveways that are exactly opposite each other where the town truck turns around to get out of there and come out during snowstorms. We presently pack all the snow up into the Class 6 road, so we have room to get the truck turned around and plow back out and get out of there. This new driveway is gonna pose a serious problem for the highway department in that we won't have any place to put the snow. So that is gonna have to be addressed by the applicant as to what we're going to do with the snow at the end of the Class 5 portion of the road where it begins the Class 6 portion. I don't wanna cause any undue expense on an applicant, but should they choose to request an upgrade of the road to Class 5 all the way to the driveway location, then the town, by an acceptance procedure, could plow the road all the way to the end of the driveway where it would turn off, and we could have the applicant construct a turning area there for the town. But that's an option that I am not requesting. I'm just making a statement that presently there is a very difficult situation with snow, especially when we had a winter like we just had, where we had about 12 feet of snow piled up there, and I certainly don't think any resident wants that much snow pushed up into the end of their driveway, because there's no place to push it. The road is extremely narrow right there.
So you said it's a difficult situation as it currently stands.
Right now, it's a difficult situation.
So if some improvements were made to that section, you think that difficult situation could be made less difficult?
I think it could be made more difficult for the highway department if a driveway is constructed there, because we would have no place to plow the snow.
Right, I'm talking about if that section of the Class 6 road were upgraded to a Class 5.
Yes, then it would be, then the applicant could make a place for the town truck to turn around at their access to their lot, and with the town truck could plow all the way in, the extra 400 feet, and plow past that applicant's driveway, maintain that with the town maintained equipment, and provide a place for the truck to turn around at that next driveway. Because I don't really think there's a spot to plow snow there and just stop at that intersection.
And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's what he was kind of looking for tonight was.
No, I don't.
No.
Well, I think looking for what the definition of what the town is looking for, and that's maybe part of what the town is looking for.
This is an observation on my part at this point.
So this is, we're talking right now about a Class 6 road, right?
That's right.
Unlike the other one where there was no road, we're talking about a driveway. So this is a Class 6 road, and we would be asking the applicant to bring this up really to subdivision standards as far as a road that the town would accept. If this were going to be a subdivision, they would have to bring it up to Class 5 standards and then be accepted by the town as a Class 5 road, which is quite a bit different than accepting it as a driveway. So
It is not going to be a driveway. It is going to be a Class 6 town road, and the town owns that piece of road.
Right, we would not
All the
be
way to the
maintaining
property line where the resident would turn to access their private property.
what would be the difference between bringing it up to Class 5 standards and bringing it up to driveway standards?
Asphalt, basically.
Is Worley paved right now?
Worthley is paved to
Okay.
that point,
Okay.
and I agree that Worthley is narrow to that point, so it would be the recommendation that they be, if they chose to pursue that, that they would be allowed to pave to match the existing pavement on Worthley Road where the intersection would be. So if it's only 18 feet at that point, or whatever the number may be, it would be a continuation of the existing conditions to a point where you would go past their access to their driveway, and a turning area would need to be constructed for the town.
Just looking at the map, the lot in question, there's a piece of it that extends down, I don't know the directions, whether that's south or not, but
East.
yeah,
I mean, I'm sorry, west.
yeah, southwest of Worley Road. There's an area there. Would it be possible then to establish a place for the town?
This is the first I've heard of this. I wasn't asked for any comments at this point.
I'm just looking at a possible
know.
place to plow the snow and turn around actually on the property of the applicant.
The applicant would probably be requested to construct some turning area or permit the town to use the driveway with an easement to back into the driveway to turn around. Because otherwise, if you back into a private residence driveway and you damage the driveway, then you own the driveway and you're gonna pay for the new pavement. So it should be a town designated turning area, as all ends of town roads under those conditions.
That would be another alternative to turning the whole road into a Class 5 road.
Yeah, because even if they do construct a driveway standard road, if you will, to get to their property, it's still a town road. So the issue comes is, what do you do with the snow when you get to the end of the road, to the intersection between the Class 5 and Class 6 portion? And I would,
So either there's a place to push the snow at the beginning
yes,
of that,
and they accept
there's
that.
a place to push the snow after the driveway.
I would
I'm
think
the
as the
applicant, I'm saying, you're gonna plow my road, my driveway, so to speak.
It's an expense to the applicant that I don't know if they want to bear that expense to pave that up to the driveway. Maybe an applicant intends to pave it and pave their driveway. I have no knowledge of that. I just know that it's an option that should be considered before any decisions have been made. Thank you.
Well, another piece of that though, is that if it's paved and accepted as a Class 5 road, then it also opens up some other lots there to development that wouldn't be if it were a dirt road, because a dirt road requires a 10-acre lot to build on, I believe. Doesn't it? So it changes the whole complexion of the area if you
There's
change that.
houses, there's house that gets access from here, though.
Well, they're already there.
Yeah, see,
Oh,
this
okay.
stops, Wordley stops here. So 64 and 65 are on Wordley. These, what's the other access over there, Guy's Lane?
No,
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest,
So
there we
there's
go.
only one.
So
other
there's
small
only
lot.
really this bigger
It's
lot,
irrelevant.
correct? Am I get that? Right. These here, access from another street.
That's right.
These two down here, access from Wordley where it stops right here. Down here, kind of.
Well, the Class 5 portion ends before those, so I'm not sure how they access.
Right here.
Yeah, that's,
There's 64 and 65 are here, and then you got 104, 94, and 80 right up here. So these access from Hillcrest, sorry.
so I think the Class 6 actually begins a little lower.
Down here.
Right here, see the color change? I think this is your changeover. So I'm not sure.
So these two driveways come in like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they access.
Okay,
But my understanding is we're going 400 feet from that point, so that's where the conversion is.
okay. All right.
So, on behalf of the applicant, we understand that the fire department wants a certain standard for their truck, their largest truck. And in my speaking with the chief, he's talking about 18 feet wide for the Class 6 portion of the road. I'm not sure that we're not inclined to do that. We don't necessarily want to pave this if we don't have to, so if there's the ability to have snow storage earlier on, fine. If the town is willing to, plow that stretch in order to put their snow at the end of that 400-foot stretch, that might be just fine, because if we have to build it to support a 60,000-pound fire truck, are your plow trucks bigger than that or about the same?
No, that's a little smaller.
Yeah.
But there is a.
Yeah, but Keith, yeah,
I know you're right there, gonna say, there's an RSA that
Yeah.
prohibits us from expending town money on private property. So if that is considered a private driveway, Class 6, then we have an issue to look at with the RSA.
There's no way the town could accept it as a Class 5 road, as a dirt road.
Right, understand that. So what I'm getting at is I'm taking his suggestions and I'm telling you that we would be willing to entertain what is going to be most efficient, what's going to be affordable, and what's going to accomplish the goal that he's looking to accomplish. So if it's giving an easement to turn in that driveway, then we would do that. But my point is, if we have to build it to support a fire truck, it's going to support the plow trucks also.
The only difference, it sounds like, is asphalt.
Right, and I've had an engineer look at this, and with 6 to 8 inches of base and 3 inches of asphalt, we'd be able to support that fire truck size with light traffic, which would be 0 to 15 trips per day. Because as you know, pavement is flexible, so the more trips over it, the sturdier that the base has got to be. The fewer trips, you can have less material. So it doesn't have to be built to I-93 standards where you've got trucking all day long.
I don't think we'd allow through trucking on Worthy Road.
I don't think so. Well, it could be part of the master plan. So my point is, we're willing to work with everyone to come up with a solution that is sensible.
Sounds like you're building a substantial base, because you need to for your driveway.
Right.
And if the only difference at that point is asphalt, and you're getting 400 feet of what you would be plowing yourself, plowed by the town,
Might be worth the
it may
investment.
be worth it. I guess it's something that your client has to consider their options, but, before they make a decision.
I think, again, if you touch base with the planning board, there may be a different width requirement if it's gonna become a Class 5 road than it would if it's a driveway. I don't know that.
Well, I think what the fire chief had asked for is probably greater than what's there. It sounds to me from what was said earlier that it's narrow there, so if it needs to be 18 feet, it's probably gonna get wider up there than it is before you get there.
Director, I mean, you approximated 18 feet, correct?
I just made a guess, I didn't know.
And that's what fire had suggested, was 18 feet.
I think we'll have to get review and comment from the planning board, but it's a start. And then you've got some options that you have to think about as well, meaning pavement, Class 5, other things. So this is the initial step, just like the other couple.
No,
Any exceptions from sending it to planning? You can check that one off your list.
So, and for what it's worth, I asked Chip about getting me before the planning board this Thursday, and he told me to show up, that he was gonna get me on that
Okay.
agenda, so I plan on seeing them on Thursday night, just so
Well,
you
I
know.
may just tell Mr. Walton too.
Yeah,
You'll need that.
we should have seen this, yeah.
Yeah, because then it comes back to us. I just don't want to.
We can get their input.
Right.
Then maybe we look at putting it back on. They can make the
Okay.
decision as to whether they want to come back and see.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So,
Okay.
2016 budget review. Pros and default.
And now you guys got those in email fashion, but Beth's just put copies in front of you as well.
I'm right in front of him this time. I got all these copies because I've been conscientiously printing them off the past week.
Oh, yeah, no, she makes them for each week and puts them in front of you. So, I also sent you a lengthy email about what we discovered, and did you guys get all that as well? I guess I sent this whole Monday night book.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry for the long email to end.
Oh, yes.
I was gonna go, oh, but I couldn't find that little thing. I don't know that you want, to start out with where we left off, or what would you, I guess, what's your preference tonight? My thought is, this will be our 5th night looking at budgets as together. So,
Just starting the bond. Sorry.
I was like, wow, what's starting? What?
Start with ours so we can go home.
Well, are we gonna go back through every line? I thought that was the whole idea of maybe getting them early. You looking at default too, Jim? Everybody
Oh,
else? Everybody's looking at the other?
That's okay.
Okay. You'll catch up?
I'm looking for certain items.
Mm-hmm. I also sent out you the state RSA for what's default and what's not. That was one of the other emails.
Well, what if we were to go to highway and fire and look at the lines that have major differences, major increases? And so if we have any questions on those, we can go right to it.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
What are you sending it to?
I was just suggesting, rather than going through every single line, that we go through the ones that are gonna generate the most discussion and look at, okay, what line has the greatest increases, and if we haven't already had the discussion on it, then we have it now.
Starting with fire and DPW.
Either that or they flip a coin, I don't know.
Arm wrestle. Which one do you got open? Arm wrestle.
Fire appears first. In the numbers. That's all.
Yeah.
Tim said he wanted a break.
I didn't say that.
Which one do
You're
you
ahead of
have?
me on the list, Bill.
I have fire.
Page 10 of 18.
Fire it is.
Where it is.
Fire away. The notable one in there was the tough book for the ambulance, which is on page 11. You asked for a one-time.
Yep.
She's added office equipment, comma, one time, and put it in there by itself.
I'm not caught up yet.
Oh, that's okay.
Trying to pull up my other copy.
Did you find it?
Getting there.
Okay. I didn't do the top part because of payroll and what was.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I have this written from looking at the one from today.
Yeah. On the one today, look on starts on page 10. 10 of 18.
Thank you.
And if you walk yourself down through the first part's wages, I mean, I'm picking out large notables, meaning on page 11, the first notable was the tough book for the ambulance, which is why it's an increase of $3,500, but it was noted as a one-time. The diesel or the fuel, Beth did the calculating as you asked. Last year diesel was $3.40 and gas was $3.20. So she took the average, met it in the middle, and calculated it, the number of gallons.
Okay.
Okay. Go down through the next large item is $660 vehicle maintenance, $5,000. Asked for an increase on the 6-year average. They've spent $14,700, which is why there's an increase to go from 10 to 15. Okay. Equipment repair. We discussed this before. That's line 686.
Was there a question about that one?
Do you want to divide it up, keep it together? That was the question.
On this particular worksheet, I already looked ahead. Highway is taking it off of theirs, police is not. It's two.
On the police department, it's not asterisk, so I didn't believe it was a contract. But if there's a contract,
Okay,
Police didn't have one before.
no. So they're still looking for $2,000 a year.
Yeah, so that, the police would fall under this contract, right?
They're proposed, and so wouldn't highway.
Briefly, and I don't know if I'm correct with Tim as well, the police department did not have a comprehensive contract for radio repairs, and I think that's the same for DPW, is that?
You have an allocation. And we will track
Yeah,
that.
and so it was, seemed a more prudent approach is to get the 3 departments under a service contract.
Ricky, are you saying 680 police? I'm gonna bounce back to page 9.
I mean, I would even go depending on what the language of 685 is, I would say both of those lines. Unless communication equipment could also be considered cell phone, but I don't know. That's the only reason I'm asking for clarification on what that line could be.
Communication equipment could be purchasing of new equipment,
Mhm.
whereas maintenance, I would say, is what this.
But even in the contract, batteries are covered.
But I'm saying like a new radio, purchasing a new radio, or purchasing a new whatever. It doesn't need to be batteries.
Because there's a radio
that could be-
equipment left in the fire department that's separate from the asterisk amount.
Okay.
That's for new equipment, I think, is what Jim's saying.
Okay.
So 680 in the PD on page 9 is probably what you're talking about for $2,000.
Correct.
So you're saying that to remove that if we're going to be all inclusive in the fire.
Correct. That would be my thought process.
Right, that's what I would agree with that.
What was that one again?
I think, I don't disagree with it, but I think we've got to ask the question to Chief Kelly,
Yep.
because if you look at the expenditure in that line
Mhm.
this year is a lot more than the 2,000, and I'm not sure why.
But again, that was because they don't have and he even said it, they don't have a
Contract.
service contract,
Right.
so anytime they needed new
It's hourly.
batteries or new whatever,
It's all out of
needed
pocket.
repairs
Mhm.
done, they had to go out and source that out. And apparently, they even did it to someone, a local, if I'm not mistaken, I think he said it was a local vendor that he was using, but
Yeah.
this would be covered all under Chief Zena's.
Mhm.
So fire and police both have a radio equipment line, and you're consolidating maintenance lines to the fire department. Highway has no radio equipment line of any sort. You've taken away the full amount for the radio repair away from the highway, so that leaves highway with zero in regards to anything to do with the radios.
And that's not to say that you can't put something in there.
Well,
Making that point.
I'd have to agree, because I think that the verbiage is different between highways line, fire's line, and police's line. I think the verbiage needs to be sorted out so that if yours is gonna be for purchasing or maintenance, whatever you want, how to term it, I feel that you still need maintenance money as much as PD does, if it's gonna be an outright radio purchase. But if it's gonna be just a maintenance contract, come by and check the antennas and et cetera, then
Our radio line covered both items in the 5 years that I've been doing it. If we needed a new radio, we purchased it out of that line. If we had a repair, we purchased it out of that line. We didn't have separate lines like the other two departments. So
Correct.
we would only differentiate it on a sales slip and not within the budget.
not in the budget.
And I think by having a service contract is probably a prudent way to have
Great
these
with the
things
service
repaired.
contract.
And to change your line item to say, equipment versus maintenance or whatever, I didn't even look yet, but to say equipment, then should you need a new radio, or then, you purchase it out of that, and it just reflects accurately.
I don't think we need the amount of money that the fire and police use because they use a lot of portables. We only have a couple of small portables that we use that are very, basically ineffective. They're just for like flaggers. But they are on the town frequency. You can hear them in the equipment.
They're saying that line item could be smaller?
It could be a little less, I would say yes, but I don't think we should zero it out because then if I need to buy a radio for the town truck, it'll have to come out some other line.
Yeah, I don't think we should do that.
But they do break from time to time instead of buying a radio.
Can we change the verbiage on that, or no? On that actual line item? Instead of radio expenses, change it to communication equipment?
So what are we doing, 3 different budgets here? at once?
No, I'm having a
Kind
hard time
of.
following. I'm
Sorry.
Kind of, only
If
because
we went back to,
Only because
we
we're
went
on,
back to police, are we tentatively scratching that $2,000 under
tentatively, yes.
communication maintenance.
Unless he comes to us and says,
So scratch it and put a question mark. Now going back to the,
I don't think he was aware of the.
What I was saying, Tom, is that you're scratching the maintenance line and zeroing it out, but you're still leaving $2,500 in their budget for radio
Equipment.
equipment.
right.
And the highway, which used to all come out of one line, you're taking it and zeroing it, so there's nothing. That's my point.
I'm sorry, what line item is that in highway?
686.
On highway?
Yeah, on page
Page
14 of 18.
14, it's on the top. so-
Second line.
Should be the same in each budget, the 686. should
Yeah,
be
but
the
they have
same.
30 and 10 and everything else.
So then I guess we come up with not to jump from department to department, but maybe you come up with a number, Tim, that you feel comfortable with?
I mean, half of the 2,000 would be plenty for me. I know it doesn't reduce the overall expense, but it does leave something in the line for purchases.
And they're not cheap.
And if upon further review next season, it turns out that you didn't expend the full 1,000, then you'd have the opportunity to reduce it.
So maybe, and I'm just throwing this out here, maybe we change it to 685 and make it maintenance?
We don't want it maintenance because
No.
that's where your
Oh, I'm
contract
sorry,
is.
Communication equipment.
That's, no, you're right.
You make it radio equipment.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I meant, equipment, not.
And take off the
685.
asterisk because it's not a contract anymore.
Yeah, but you can't just change it. You have to use like 685 or whatever.
Yeah,
She can make a new
685.
number.
Okay, 685.
For how much?
I
$1,000
mean,
bucks?
for equipment.
Yeah.
For $1,000. And then 686 would go to zero.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Okay, we're gonna go back to
Put a
page 11.
Put
We've
a
already done it.
Asterisk.
parentheses after the description of that new line and say where it started until that other one disappears and
Okay.
Okay.
Now we got that.
Now that we've confused everybody and hop back around.
Yeah.
So those are your large increases, and you have some decreases. We're back on page 11 of 18. For the South Station propane, because of the change in price. Same thing with Sugar Hill for oil, and the same thing for the safety complex for propane. Those are based on your contract for your price per gallon for the fuel.
I had some questions on some lines that, well, I'll first start with fire food, 391.
391. Yep.
We're proposing 1,200, and the reason is $100 a month.
Mhm.
Increase.
$900 increase.
$900.
It was 300. Now it's the proposals.
It was 300, and in 13 we spent 225. In 14 we spent 343, and then in 15 we spent over $1,000. Do we know what changed there, or what?
Bigger fireman?
What we did in the evolution of how we do business, we used to have vehicle checks on Sunday, we had a meeting on a Monday night, we have other training that we have during the month. We tried to consolidate those to reduce the amount of time that we required our people to come in and have contact, be more efficient is intent. What that did is it kind of pushed the meeting, what had been starting at 7, it started to encroach into the dinner hour more, to reduce the number of times that we were meeting. And so one of the things that I heard from our people was, it encroaches on dinner time. So we started to provide food at those meetings so that they could, essentially some people were really coming from work to the firehouse for training. People are humans, and if you put food out on the table, that attracts people. So it helped with attendance. It helped make people happier while they're at the meeting because they got to eat. I mean, it's a kind of a basic human thing. So
I'll second
it's an expense, but I think that it's proven itself over the course of the year.
Just to give blood for a piece of pizza.
There you go.
Line 525, fire insurance, additional provident policy. what is that? It looks like it's pretty steady cost at $6,021.
That's a,
Why wouldn't we budget that amount?
the Provident policy is very similar to an AFLAC type policy. It's a supplemental accidental death and disability policy that we have. It's a function of the number of employees that we put on the register when we send that in. I'm kind of surprised that it is a very consistent number across the board there.
That's exact.
So I could get you more information as to whether that number could be smaller. But
Yeah.
that, essentially what that policy is. We had probably the most significant use of that policy was when Jeff Lewis was struck by a car. And he was able to essentially become whole financially during the time that he was out of work.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to see if it's,
Yeah,
if it's so
I'll-
consistent that we don't just budget for the actual cost of it at $6,021.
Yep, I'll check on that.
The next one I had a question with was 560 fire dues. Just 2 lines down from
Yep.
those-
That was, some of that, the reason why that number's a little low, I'm not sure what sheet you have. Does it say through the end of August, or is it?
This 12/4,
We have through 11/30,
11,
Chief.
And what is that number?
$2,068.
$2,068.
Okay, I know that our dues are going up with the Sauhegan Mutual Aid. Part of a new component that's been added to that mutual aid group is the Swiftwater Rescue Team that's based out of Bedford, New Hampshire. There's an assessment per town for that, which is.
So when does that
Next.
cost become available to know? Like, it must be, I would imagine it's a fixed number.
Oh, that number is somewhere between $100 and $200 increase over last year, or the number that you probably see in front of you now. There may be some other dues that have not necessarily come in and been paid out.
Right, but for budgeting for 2016, is it a predictable number that we could get an exact number on?
Theoretically, sure.
I guess I'd like to see what that number is.
Okay. You're looking at that $200 discrepancy between the budget number and
No, I'm just looking at it, and, I mean, yeah, there's a discrepancy, but I mean, it just strikes me as dues as being a fixed number, a pretty predictable fixed number.
Oh, it encompasses probably 5 different dues payments, not only to different organizations.
Sure, but
Yep,
like,
but I can list those out. I can get that detail for you.
thank you.
Yep.
On page 11, line 622, fire software support, double asterisk. Okay.
Yep.
It's a contract, but is that
It's
as needed? Is it?
It's a contract that covers firehouse software, reporting software, which is required by the state. It covers the EMS manager program that we do pretty much all of our scheduling and other. Essentially, it's a internet-based or web-based program that we're using in place of a server.
So.
That's not, there's more to come out of for December.
Yeah, there's another 200 for.
So it's not like a fixed, is it a fixed contract number?
That's kind of what I'm asking. Is it a fixed number?
It's a fixed number for some of the components, and then there's, like the EMS manager part, there's, it's fixed by number of employees. So as your number changes, that cost might increase because it's like kind of per capita type of billing. Last year, we had money in there for, forget what the software was that we were looking to.
Bridge?
I am responding.
There was the I am responding piece, and there was also.
There was something, I thought it was Bridge, something, I can't remember.
No, I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't, it was something that we had intended to do. We weren't able to realize what that was, and so we had a reduction in that line, I believe, last year of some,
I don't know if we would.
what's the number of that again?
So,
Sorry.
look,
EMS
in 13 it costs 1654, in 14 it costs 21.
What's the line again? I'm sorry.
Line
622
622.
on page 11.
And so we budgeted 2,500 in 15 so far until the end of
Yep.
November. We spent 2,000.
Yeah, and we probably have a
You know,
couple
we're asking for
$100.
2,500 again. So I guess it's a similar question. I'm looking at something that would appear to me to be a fixed number that we could get an actual, real number and budget the cost of that line.
Okay, we'll look at that.
Line 679, fire training fee.
Yep.
Expenses. That looks like it fluctuates. Is it because of alternating years of different?
Well, some of it is, out of that line, I can't speak prior to me getting here, but since I've gotten here, we only use that line for the cost of programs. We don't use that line for labor, and I think in the past that was part of that. We also use that line in the, when we send someone to school. And so the biggest expense of that is, we have someone attending paramedic school.
So that changes, that fluctuates from year to year then?
Yes.
It won't fluctuate going forward.
It won't.
It'll be, it'll be, if not all of that 8,000, then close to it.
Okay. The last question I had was on line 750, fire equipment maintenance, required testing.
Yep.
Does that get done in December?
We have a couple different components that get done late in the year. One of the ones, we have a purchase order for $2,500 or so for our SCBA maintenance. We have our compressor that fills the air bottles that we have for firefighting. That maintenance is done at the end of the year. It's about $750-ish. Depending on budget and timing, our small engine repair contractor, that may be an end of the year thing, or that's a first of the year thing. Required testing. So that's at 4. The 2,500 is 65, and so we're pretty close to it.
So that's not.
And so there's some years we do ground ladders, some years we do,
So that's alternate. depending.
yeah, some years we do the hydraulic rescue tool.
Previous 2 years have exceeded.
Yeah, we've had hose.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
I was
there's
just
the hose
wondering
testing
about this
piece.
past year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not done yet.
The
That's what he's
past
saying.
year, was it last year, we had to hydro test our air bottles. So that's why that number's, a little bit higher. So it's not a fixed program.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
So I'll get you that detail on those 3 lines.
Yeah, it was 525,
560
560,
and 622.
622. Okay. And I'll send that through the mail.
Yes.
Want to do emergency management while I'm right here?
Sure. It's right underneath it, or right above it.
It's less than last year, but
Back up to page 9. He does emergency management as well.
Page 10. 9 and 10.
It's gone down. It's the only thing. He doesn't pay Social Security.
Yeah,
That's it.
tax evasion.
Tax evasion. All set?
Travel expenses.
yeah, there's a big conference in Vegas, I guess, this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is there anybody going anywhere?
We just barely put him in there, and we
Yeah.
have been vacant.
Yeah, I expect that you'll see more activity than in the last couple of years.
I was gonna say, there's been no activity.
No activity.
And that includes training?
There's a plethora of training opportunities out there for an emergency management.
I'm gonna watch Tim.
You watched me, I thought.
Page 13's Highway Department. As I said, the first part of it has to do with salary and I guess the word was administrative costs. Um, let's see, the vehicle fuel,
Oh, yeah.
there's a
That's good one
decrease.
to talk about.
Line.
635.
I would strongly recommend that you reconsider that number in the vehicle fuel line. That's based on actual usage this year. We haven't had any snow in November. The numbers are lower than they've ever been, unless you have a crystal ball that says the fuel is gonna stay at the numbers we're at right now. I think cutting the fuel budget in half is not a good idea.
I don't see how it ended up being cut in half, because it seems like it would have been cut by, like 1/3 or so.
Yeah.
Well, what he's saying is it's by usage.
I'm showing 55,000 is proposed, with
Right.
53,595 being lowered by 53,995.
Yeah, just wondering,
Excessive.
because what we suggested doing, and we did for these numbers for fuel, was to take your average price, say for diesel for the last 3 months, and then take the price that we allotted in the previous budget, and there's a vast difference there because the fuel's down. So we took the halfway point in between. So roughly, if it were, if we put in $1 and it was, if we put in $2 last year.
It was 3 1/4, as I remember. wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I'm just trying to.
We used 340
Well, if it's $3.40,
last year.
and let's say your average price was $2, then what's the midway point between $2 that you're paying now and
$2.70.
$3.40 then? And that would give us some room if prices went up again. Because we can't assume anything.
Well, going from.
But I don't know how it ended up being cut in half.
It's the gallon usage. We don't know what last year's budget gallon usage was. So we took what Tim has purchased in gallons for diesel from December of 14 through December of 15, and that came up with 15,000 gallons. I rounded it to 18, just to give them some breathing room there. Used the formula you guys came up with, which is $2.71 a gallon.
That seemed like a good.
So,
The most you spent is December 2014, it was $2.80 a gallon.
I just don't want to shortchange the fuel line, because if it does run out, then it's a bottom line budget, it's got to come out of someplace else. So,
and that's my thing.
as long as
with
you're
the fu-
considering this.
No, that's my thing with the fuel line is, the fuel line is a line item that can't be played with. It's based on the number of gallons versus, it's not a line that you can, go purchase, whatever it is. I had a seminar and I didn't have the money in that line item, so I'm gonna take it out of the fuel line item. You can't do that out of that particular line.
Well, Jim, I will say that last year when we discussed this same topic, I made a statement to this board and on TV that the fuel line, in my opinion, was a no-touch line, and I had never
You did.
taken anything out of the fuel line that wasn't fuel
I
related.
agree. Now, was there additives?
Additives are separate, yes.
That's a separate line item?
Yes,
I
go
remember.
down line
Oh, yeah, you're
742.
right. Yep.
And that line was approved in the budget last year, so we didn't actually start purchasing additives till after the winter was over, because it wasn't in the prior year budget. So that's why we didn't spend the full amount that the request was made at.
So it's,
It
there's
just-
gotta be a discrepancy in the number of gallons used.
That seems like a sizable cut.
There has to be, because
There has
I'm
to
looking back at even, in 2013, it was 124,000. We overspent that line item by,
That's only because you had your additives in there at that time.
was that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
How about
we
14?
removed 6,000 from the fuel line to account for additives.
So moved, okay, so we're at 118,000, we overspent it by $10,000. The previous year, or last year, we were under by about $10,000. And I'm kind of on the same with Tim, is if we're gonna, if the previous 2 years, taking out the additives out of the first year, are gonna average $100,000, and we're putting in 55,000, then we are gonna be short.
What percent is the decrease just in, when we said we're gonna go from halfway to what we're paying now to what we budgeted?
So from
What was-
340 down to 270?
Yeah, what's the percentage decrease?
74 divided by 7 is fine.
270, you said?
271, I think, is what she's using.
Yeah, 271 is what she-
Uh, 20%?
But Beth also calculated the number of gallons used, so that's,
Well, right, I'm doing this
Part of the
separate, I'm just doing the price per gallon, and I think it may be consistent with what we talked about last time, just reducing the last year's budgeted amount by that percentage to get this year's budgeted amount.
which would make, I don't have, my everyday math isn't working for me, so.
Well, I took 340, minus the 270, 271,
59 cents.
gave me 69, so what percentage, 69 is what percentage of the 240, and that's where I got the 20, 21.
Where's the 240? Oh, the 340.
340 is what we put in last year for diesel. So it's
20%.
But don't you just divide the 69
times the original
2
340. You divide it by the original because you're lowering. So it's about a 20% decrease in the.
Not a 50%, which is what it's basically right now.
No, because I think what we did too with last year and why this year's so low is we ordered fuel up until December 31st and tucked it into 14 to start out fresh this year because
But
That's
I agree
why-
that running that number that we applied per gallon to the number of gallons we used in 2015 could be artificially low. Right? I mean, is that what we're saying? That's why it's cut like in half?
Well, no, because the gallon.
it's based on usage. You buy more than that.
Yeah.
You fill up the tank whenever you fill it up. Then it gets distributed, which is why the police department and the fire department know what they use. Tim's budget absorbs the rest of it. So everybody's got a key, so you know how many gallons are in the fire department, you know how many gallons are in the police department, you know how many gallons at the transfer station, and everybody else that has a key. So you know their usage, but the highway department picks up what's extra in the tank.
Yeah, so if Tim did indeed purchase December 31st last year to fill the tanks, then that usage wouldn't show until
Right.
the beginning of this.
So if you take off the 20%, you could drop it to 86.9.
If I purchase fuel on December 31st of this calendar year, it would be reflected in this calendar budget.
No, I'm saying if you did
The
it,
expense would,
Yes.
but the usage wouldn't be until
right.
you used. So
But that's gotta be, you gotta consider that a carryover from the prior year,
Ooh,
and
I
and
agree.
just wash it out,
I agree. If that's
if it was the same.
the same,
And it's
we
hard to
don't
say.
know that. And without that, I think we're saying that
And
those
I think it would
gallons.
be safe to apply a 20% reduction to the 108,595.
So that'd be about 86,000.
86.9 or
Yeah.
87,000.
Let's just say 87. Make it a round number.
I'd be much more comfortable handing the department off to someone else in time with that number, rather than sticking them with a short. So what is your number you just stated, 87?
87?
Its vehicle fuel is 635.
Mm-hmm.
So we're proposing 87,000.
Are you going to use the same math for the other two, or are you just going to leave it alone?
I think we can probably use the same math the other two,
We
correct?
should be
Well, I don't know,
consistent.
though. They calculate based on their usage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their usage is kind of.
I'm just asking. It doesn't matter to me.
Kind of.
They also
not really.
reduced the fleet, at the PD too, don't forget, so that's part of the reduction.
Was this 108,000 proposed, or was this 108,000 default?
It was, well, it's what we ended up with.
Would have
That
been
was
The
the
same
budget
number as
last
the
year.
prior
So,
year,
yeah.
so it became
So
part
it
of the
was
default.
proposed at the rate times gallons, it was just the default.
Just carried over.
Okay, so the calculation you did last year is not here, correct?
Right. True.
Okay, then you have a deduction of safety medical gear, but that's kind of a combination with the next line because of the boot allowances it's stated in the contract. So the boot allowance was out of the,
And that was rather than apply an increase to the entire line, it was just the small portion of the line that was contractual.
drop down to 744 oil and lubricants. An increased request of $4,500 due to the aging fleet repairs. So the oil and lubricants is going from 55 to 10 is a request.
And that was to do what again?
Well, as these vehicles are getting older and older and we have broken hydraulic lines, we tend to
That's
lose the
right.
hydraulic oil.
I forgot, you said the hydraulic lines came out of that line, correct?
Yeah, the hydraulic oil comes out of that as well as motor oil and such. I mean, in 14, we expended 10,000. In 15, so far, we've expended 69. I projected 10 based on November and December being plowing months, but we've
It's
been
flower
lucky
months
so far and we
instead.
haven't utilized it. So
55 degrees.
that's up for consideration, that line. That was my suggested increase on that.
Sometime Walsh.
With it being 55 degrees, we should be able to decrease this line item.
Well, it's helping all the way across to everything, including the fuel line.
Yeah.
So if you're not, that 4,500 increase was to bring me up to 10,000. If the board thinks that that's going a little too high, I would be happy with a little less in that line. Just to match the need.
Well, you've exceeded it.
So far, I have not exceeded, I've exceeded my budgeted amount of 5,500, but I have not exceeded the threshold of 10,000, which is what I was requesting we increase the line to.
Well, yeah, you did in 2014.
I did in 14. That was a terrible year because of the snow and everything that happened that year. So,
What we're proposing,
All right.
8?
8?
That worked, didn't
yeah,
you?
that'd be fine. I mean, we can always look at it, next time out.
This is the only time out.
Well, you can look at it. I really would hope that we would leave the next line alone based on my explanation.
Yes.
Plus the fact that I've been working with the fire chief to make sure the roads are all properly signed in town. And I've discussed the fact that we probably should sign the private roads in town for E911 purposes. A lot of the private roads in town do not have street signs at the end of them because it's the responsibility of the landowners who live on that street to supply the sign, and you'll probably find some carved boards and something they painted up with a paintbrush. So it was my request to the chief for consideration, and he agreed that we probably should consider signing all the private roads in town, and that'll be an ongoing project if it gets through. The shop supplies, line 610, that was another requested increase. And once again, we need to continually buy more stuff to keep fixing the trucks as they get older. What was the decision on the radio line? You're gonna mark it 686 or 685 rather?
685.
685
And what are you gonna title it?
is gonna be radio maintenance.
Equipment.
No
Radio
maintenance.
Equipment, radio
You're
equipment.
just not on that maintenance.
I thought it was, I thought the other one.
Radio equipment, I believe.
I don't know
Yeah,
what it was.
radio Equipment maintenance.
Oh, we don't want to do
Don't want to do maintenance, because maintenance is in the other,
Maintenance is a contract.
for $1,000.
Whatever you decide to call it, well.
Right.
That was gonna be 685.
Radio equipment. It's gonna be called whatever Beth puts a number to it.
Right.
Vehicle maintenance, unfortunately, the trucks are requiring a lot more work to keep them going. I've just turned in some bills to Naomi recently for electronic repairs, and I would say that unless we're going to, CIP has not requested approved a truck to go through this year. The wheel loader is what I asked for, a wheel loader and a truck, and to the best of my knowledge, only one of the two is going to pass through the process. So we're not looking at another new truck for another year, so, and the older they get, the more they cost to fix. And at $75,000, I think that's a very, very lean budget for the amount of vehicles that the town of Weare owns, including the equipment. This is not just the trucks, this is the excavators, loaders, backhoe, bulldozer, everything we own, all comes out of that one line, so that's not an excessive amount of money for that. I don't know if anybody looked into the RSA request for the hot and cold mix on 734. I still believe that it's a valid request, and I haven't heard anything different.
Did we, what you gave us?
Do you concur?
I mean, based on that, I guess
I think the key word in the RSA is budget. And a warrant article that's put before the voters is not a budget. It's a request. And there is the possibility that one day the residents in town could fail the road reconstruction warrant article. We would still have the block grant money to spend on roads, but it would be significantly reduced. And I think the key word in the reading of that RSA is the word budget. You're supposed to budget a certain amount of money based on the two formulas that were presented in the RSA. And then Christmas comes on the last two on 682 and 684 is this roadside mowing and street sweeping. There were old lines in the budget that had been zeroed out. These are maintenance items that the highway department performs. I do not believe they should fall under the guise of the road reconstruction article, because you're not reconstructing roads when you're roadside mowing, and you're not reconstructing roads when you're sweeping.
And what's that got to do with Christmas?
Those are the two Christmas presents right there. 10 and 25.
Their request.
Who said we're buying Christmas presents this year?
I said request.
Okay.
Santa's list.
We're checking it twice.
The only other thing that I didn't see in this was a discussion at a meeting about having an overlap period or a week or something salary-wise between, and it's not in this budget. Now, that would mean it would not be able to happen without putting something in the budget.
Again, that would have to be itemized as a one-time.
Right.
So whether it be 1 week or 2 weeks would be the board's decision on that, but that is not included at this time.
Unless you hire for less than he's making now. We've done that before, for starting out.
Yes, that's a true statement.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then 1 week wouldn't be.
Okay, we gotta move on to transfer station.
Well, I have some questions in mind or similar to what I asked fire.
Okay.
I'm looking through zero increase or decrease lines just to see. Line 410 highway electricity. We're asking for 8,300. We've never spent more than 72, which is 1,000 less than what we're asking for. Is there additional electrical stuff we've added on? Is this?
Should be,
I
it
actually
should be a
did not do that
decrease
calculation.
because of buying off the grid now.
So we should be decreasing that
Mhm.
line. Okay.
Why?
I don't have a suggestion
I
for
don't
that,
know.
because I didn't do the
Beth,
calculation.
is 15 got 13 in it? 13 monthly payments, is that what we talked about?
No, that was the phone bill.
That was the phone bill.
Is that something we can look into?
I can. I don't remember off the top of the head what the. I can look into that one.
Okay.
And you're gonna find that in his transfer station as well, because I only did those on mine.
Line 530 highway meetings and seminars. What's available? What do you plan to go to and send people to?
There's actually no set plan for those things. What I've done for the last few years, I've tried to organize and schedule classes in the town of Weare through the T-Square program. When you are a host community, you get 2 or sometimes 3 free class attendees. I've tried to continue to do that. But there are classes that you can't host all the classes because then they kind of figure you're trying to steal from them. So you can only host so many classes and you still have to pay for some classes. I actually had some classes that I was going to sign the men up for now that we've sort of come out of our construction season, but with the, the budget mandate as of November 1, there was multiple classes that I wanted to send folks to, and I didn't even request to send them to classes because of the freeze on the budget. So, I think that's not a lot of money for 15 employees in the highway department. It also, there are classes that we have to take in order to maintain certifications for solid waste, for, I use sewer and waters out of my other budgets, but there are other classes that have to be maintained, and it's nice to have a few dollars in there to take.
Do they do like salt applicator?
They do a salt applicator
Do
class.
they do all the drivers go through
No,
this?
only generally speaking, the salt applicator class is attended by the supervisory team, and then you instruct the men in-house.
The most expensive year was 13 at 733.
Mhm.
I guess I would propose 800.
I would think that'd be a fair amount.
Looking at 511, 320.
That would be fair, I think. Because I think that whoever takes over, I will instruct, give them information about what's available to the town and to try to take advantage of it. And Primax has also stepped up a lot. They've offered us a lot of free classes, and I've always tried to take advantage of the free classes at Primax.
The fuel additive and testing line, 742.
I can't find it. Give me a second.
Sorry.
Okay.
5:30 meetings and seminars.
I asked about that last time.
800.
Is that to keep the diesel from getting jelly?
It
and
is.
all
We
that?
buy, in fact, I just got 2 cans of it the other day. It was $680 for 2 5-gallon pails. And the highway department pays for this. but the fire department also benefits from it, because we treat the diesel for all the town vehicles. So, I think you could experimentally reduce that if you felt the need to, but I think you have to keep your mind open to possibly reinstating the line for a larger amount down the road.
I'm just looking at what was spent in 14 and 15. Has the diesel fuel change, was the change in fuel, like, does it go to corn or something? That's why we need to put that additive in there?
No, it's just, diesel fuel does not come treated from the bulk plant. You have to add your own treatment to the fuel.
So that's not new then, that's new.
No, this is,
All diesel.
the line, it used to come out of the lines used to come out of the diesel line, so that's why you never saw how much was coming out.
Sure, right. And we pulled 6,000 out and made this line. But we're not spending near 6,000.
No.
Try 3.
I would be comfortable with 3.
Do you, add that directly to your supply tanks, or?
We added on a ratio for every 1,000 gallons we put in the ground, we put in a gallon of the additive. So when we get a delivery, we calculate how many gallons of diesel is delivered, and then we add an appropriate amount of the diesel additive. We don't treat the gasoline, only the diesel.
Next page, line 640, highway, building repairs, maintenance.
You have to understand that I am very skin-flinty with that line, because I have to try to save up for when we may need it at the end of the year. We have our waste oil heater has to be serviced before the end of the year. Thank God it hasn't broken down this year. It seems to be I don't know even how old that thing is. Naomi may have a better idea how long that's been in there, but.
Are you insinuating something?
Well, you used to work at the highway department. You might remember when
Just
it
kidding.
read in.
I'm not sure.
So anyway, I use some of that stuff for the Department of Labor. I keep hoping that a new building will be approved, and I don't want to spend $4,000 putting exit doors in the building, which we have all non-compliant exit doors. Every one of our doors in the building opens into the building. They're all illegal by the fire code.
It depends on the amount of occupants in the building.
No, a fire door is supposed to open out, I believe. I don't believe a fire door can open into the building. No obvious, Ben? Okay.
I think it depends on the occupant load.
Well, that would be something I'd be interested in knowing, because I got a price to put crash doors on the exit doors in our building, which are marked by exit signs, and it was $4,000 to put doors in, and I wasn't about to spend $4,000 on a building that could be torn down in the near future. Hopefully. I don't think that's a lot of money for building maintenance. That also has other stuff comes out of that. The water comes out of that for our drinking water. The Monadnock water bill is paid out of that. We buy supplies for the kitchen out of that. Cleaning supplies comes out of that for the bathrooms and the kitchen. So it's not just windows and siding and toilets and such. It's also the general use of the building. Everything comes out of that one line.
Here's a big one. 733, salt and sand. We're budgeting 190, 773. Yeah, I did, sorry.
Yep.
Which year was our worst year? Well, it looks like for this, but I can't tell if it's because we, topped off in 2014 or started with a full shed in 15, so we didn't have to buy as much in 15 yet, and you're planning to top off before January 1st. I
We're
don't
full,
know.
aren't we? We haven't
Yeah,
expended any salt right now.
What I did was, this year, I topped the shed off in June before the price change. And it actually went up $3.54 a ton. So we topped the shed off at the 2015 price. We got our 16 bids, and they're higher this year than they were last year by a few dollars per ton. So right now the shed is full. But we also have to calculate on the possibility that we're going to be pulling salt out of the shed in November and December, which we have not.
It's gone.
Well, you can say that, but December.
November is gone. Today's December.
It's not gone yet.
November is.
November is.
November is gone.
Yeah.
So it's an artificial lull in the usage of
Yeah,
the
it
building,
is.
of the product.
Mhm.
So $60,000 in salt could go as if you had one of those bad November, Decembers, you could have used every drop of it in a 2-month period.
Of the
But we
60,000.
did not, but we did not have it.
It's just hard to budget it.
Well, I know, it's hard to budget it, but,
I don't wanna under budget it.
no, I don't wanna
No, I
under
don't
budget it either, I don't, but I'm looking at, 170 is our biggest number.
When you say about $3 a ton increase, and what do you roughly?
$20,000.
I don't have a number for that. But if you'd have to take the prior year, the 2014 expenses, and divide it by the contract, which I could go up and get for you and tell you how many tons I used.
I was just wondering what the increase
I
would
don't
be.
actually keep track of it. I could probably go through all the receipts and give you.
When you get a load, what's on a load when it comes in?
34 tons is a rule.
34 tons.
The rule.
You know,
Most of those loads run around $1,800 to $2,000 per load.
That's $20,000.
I understand.
A load of salt generally is around $2,000 per truckload. So if you have 60,000 left over, that's 30 truckloads of salt. Most storms, we use probably 2 to 3 truckloads of salt, sometimes 4, depending on how severe they are. We always try to use as little as we have to, but you have certain types of storms require different applications.
Keith,
So
were
are we
you gonna
gonna-
suggest a
No, you're
different number?
Yeah, I'm suggesting the 180. I'm just trying to take a little here and there where we can to realize some savings where we can. I don't think that's shortchanging it to the point of danger anywhere.
Still about $11,000 more than our highest.
And it offset the 10,000 in increased maintenance costs of.
Right.
All right.
Next.
Well, is everybody comfortable with that?
I'm in agreement with
Sorry,
Tree removal is the next line down, 681. Is this, Tim, when we have like ice storms and?
No, it's just for regular work, like we're using the tree removal line the last 2 days of last week. Expenses as of 11/30, I don't think that means there's nothing left in the line, correct? Beth?
No, that means
No,
we've
that means
spent
nothing's
nothing.
on
nothing
I put in a purchase order for John Brown way back for
Yeah,
that.
those don't show for.
Oh, well, you better not cut that, because I just spent about 2,000 of that line doing bucket work on Sugar Hill Road.
Okay. And the
Generally
reason
speaking.
why it jumped out at me is because nothing was spent, and I thought maybe the ice storms in the past have broken down, and we've cut a lot of trees that we didn't need to this year, and I was looking at next year if that's not the case. Then
That's
fine.
pretty much reserved for when we have to hire a bucket truck, which we don't own. And we've been trying to do dead trees around town. We were hoping to get up on Quaker Street next and take some of the dead trees up on Quaker Street. Because they get to the point where these emerald ash borers are killing the ash trees, and they're all gonna start falling in the streets next. That's another big dilemma. So we're trying to get ahead of the dead trees at this point and take them down, get them out.
Okay. That's all I had.
that. So, Beth, you said purchase orders don't show on this until after they're expensed?
Want to do transfer station 2, same page?
Sounds good.
Down, start with, internet. Internet's a new
New line.
connection.
We don't have an internet connection at the transfer station, and a lot of the correspondence with the NRA and through everything has to be done with computers, and it would be nice to be able to have a computer at the transfer station for the operation.
Does that price include the initial install plus 12 months?
I don't know
Or
that,
is-
I asked.
That's the, if we go with Granite State, the phone's there. The
So
phone
that's
line.
just the 83 times 12. That's what
Uh,
it says in the reason.
Yes.
I think that's our present bill with Granite State for the internet at the highway garage for the,
Actually, it's not Granite
Inspection
State's Comcast. Use Comcast for your internet over there.
So it's already,
It's
there's
$83.
there.
It's internet to across the street.
internet to the highway department for the inspection machine is $82.50 a month.
Yeah.
Is there a wireless router in there?
I don't know, what's that?
Well, if there's a wireless router in there, it's got the good enough signal,
I
they
think
should
we
be
can
able
do
to
that.
just use a laptop from the transfer station.
That's something we could look into. I don't know if the wireless router will go out of the building, and if the new
Oh, yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I get my neighbors. I don't know the password to use it, so I can't use it, but I mean, it's a good signal.
If we could get it
Yeah,
at the
my
transfer
grandson
station?
gets mine who lives next door.
No, but I'm saying.
Well, let's look into that.
yeah,
A router's cheaper.
Let's look into
Sure.
doing that.
See if we can straighten it out.
We'll look into that. Happy to look into that.
What would be is they have to directly.
Then there's smaller ones down through Keith. Fuel was an increase because the backhoe fuel was always used at the highway or posted to the highway. Now he's got his own key.
Electricity, we're looking at the adjustment, the price on that one. You said made that comment when I
Yeah.
talked about it for
Yeah.
highway.
But that's not that much different. This one
Yeah.
doesn't have the big increase in it.
Neither of them are, but I have to.
Still gonna be a decrease due to the co-op thing.
Yeah,
Whatever. It's co-op is how we.
it's Constellation. We bought off the grid. The only larger increase, Keith, is after the fuel is the aging equipment on the equipment maintenance 750.
That's not out of whack. Or looking at.
That's all for the big ticket items.
And we talk about this one every year too, the Hep B drug alcohol testing. We're consistently budgeting double what we find ourselves spending.
Well, we've had a high turnover, and the guys have sort of been going through the transfer station. I haven't invested in Hep B testing for everybody that comes and works for 2 weeks there, because they're usually out before the second round of shots goes through. We have one of the employees that just went through it this year, reasonably expensive. So,
Would that have been included in this 641 we're seeing?
yes,
And then the other thing, the alcohol testing is part of the random pool for the federal, the motor carrier. Yeah,
Right.
But we still haven't.
it's random.
Yeah, but we haven't.
It's like winning the lottery.
if I see a little stability, which I'm starting to see, the newest transfer station employee will be sent for Hep B test shots because it's required. If he hasn't already got them from his own doctor, which I doubt, because it's a very expensive series of shots, 2 or 3. And then the other employees that work up now, Matt, I don't know if Matt's Hep B shots are up to snuff. He may have to go get his Hep B shots done. So that at the very least, there's 2 employees that are going for hepatitis B shots soon or in the right after the first of the year.
If we went with 1,000, would it be comparable to the highest of the 3 years?
It's a very, I think it's a small differential between 1,000 200 and 1,000, I would like to leave it alone, because I do have something, I think, up the line we can reduce, which we went by. I think we can reduce the wheelabrator line 596. Look at what was spent so far this year versus what we budgeted.
How much is a month?
Well, first of all, it's running around 13 or 14,000 a month.
Okay.
But the thing is that we budgeted 13 payments last year because when we got out of that contract, and I believe that the board paid the 13th payment out of the extra money from the fiscal year prior. So we
Which is why
budgeted 13
14.
payments, but only made 12 this year. So at the very least, we can knock that back by one full month's payment. Possibly more, because after my discussion with the board about campgrounds, Cold Spring no longer brings their trash to the campground. They go directly to the burner now because they evaluated their recycling. This is secondhand information. I think John can back me up on that. He's here tonight. They evaluated their recycling costs, and it was more expensive for them to spend recycling time with their employees than it was to just send it all up to the burn plant. So we no longer get Cold Springs trash, which was a significant amount of trash every year.
What would you suggest, Tim?
20?
I would say we could probably reduce it by 20,000 easily and not hurt ourselves, and then you can watch it in the out years. We still have to pay another bill this month. It just comes up about 120. We've got around 130 with the next payment, but we still have a payment due. So you're gonna send us a bill at the end of December? Yeah, we'll get a bill at the end of December. If you wanted to go down 20, I think that's a very safe hedge at this point.
150 then.
Yep. Yeah, even if there's one more payment, that's still.
I think if you reduce that by 20,000 to 150, I think you'd be safe.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out.
So, what are you
We'll
gonna
let you
do?
keep your 200 then.
Yeah.
Can I keep the 1,200 in the training line?
Absolutely.
In the testing line?
The 200, yeah.
1,200.
Yeah, but we were talking about taking $200.
$200 difference,
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
Fair
Hazardous
exchange.
Waste Day, we budgeted 6,000 on the warrant this year. We got a bill from, we have a contract with them that we do not exceed 6,000 by contract. They actually tried to bill me for 6,400 this year because we had, according to them, more than the 6,000 allowance. I didn't pay it. I explained to them we're not paying it, and they were good with that. However, we had to close 30 to 45 minutes before our 1 o'clock deadline, so I would suggest that this coming warrant article season, that we increase the hazardous waste day by something so that we can stay open until at least the 1 o'clock, which was the advertised time. And
What prior years did that?
we have been under in prior years.
Like, once you got rid of all your hazardous waste, doesn't it take
I-
a little while to gather it back up again?
Depends on what you do.
People clean out their basements every once in a while, and we did get a large charge from the barn over on East Road. Mr. Brown's
Oh,
barn.
yeah.
We had a whole pallet of stuff from there, but that didn't send us over the top. It just was a contributing factor. And there were a few unhappy residents that showed up at 5 of 1 for the 1 o'clock ending time, and we had already closed it up because they keep track of it, and I actually called Tom that day to say, can we exceed our 6,000? He said, no, we cannot. So we ended up closing about 40 minutes early. So we have to look at an increased amount on that, Naomi, maybe 6,500 or possibly 7,000 for the warrant article.
Water's no different. Water's his. And then sewer's on the very last page, I believe. Sewer would be on page 17. Nope.
I must have went right by it.
There's no sewer in this one? Oh, that's right, because sewer's just
Yeah.
Enterprise.
in and out.
In and out.
Yep.
No pun intended, right,
Oh,
Tom? Right, Tom?
wow.
I got it before Tom did.
10 o'clock.
That was close.
I know it's
wow.
An enterprise fund, but the only real change to the sewer budget this year, as I described prior, was that we do need to cut all the trees down that are around the pumping station over there, because they're pushing the fence over and damaging our equipment underground. So we're gonna cut those trees down, and there was I believe a $2,700 quote from a landscaper in town to come in and replant the arborvitaes that were there as little trees way back when, that are now monster trees.
Arborvitae's grow pretty quick, don't they?
Well, maybe we would look at something different, but it's a screening, it's a tall screening tree.
It's an effective one.
Just thank you for the town hall business there.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all, if anybody's noticed, all of
Yeah,
the
it's all
old
cleaned up.
bushes are gone.
Yeah.
And in the spring, we'll figure out what to do with it.
Okay, then, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Any finance committee questions on any of these?
On the two, no, do you have more on the budget you're doing tonight?
I think that's good for tonight.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep us moving forward, because to next week, I'd like to,
Well, the reason I'm asking is Thursday night,
Yeah.
we need to
Yeah.
get to finish the budget for the town. We're at a point now where we're holding our meetings, waiting for you guys. And we've got school coming in hard and fast the first week of January and the second week of January. We've got to have all our stuff wrapped out with the recommendations already printed. So we're now holding on you, and I need, if we can get the budget done so we can attack the budget Thursday, that would help tremendously on our end, because we're still waiting on warrant articles, which Naomi and I have talked about, that you're waiting from.
we're gonna do next
RA.
week. Well, we're gonna do next week.
You've got all of the budgets, you just don't have if there's a line here or there that we're adjusting.
Right, and we don't like to go and fiddle with things and start making decisions to find out that, oops, they changed it, you know, that kind of, we don't want to second guess you or send a note over here saying we have a question about this when you're already hammering on it.
The police budget that's in here, do the salaries reflect the original?
The salaries reflect exactly what we have
Because-
for status quo. It doesn't include the
Presentation.
second one that shouldn't have been out anyway. As you can see, the bottom line is 1.5.
Yep.
It's not the 1.8 or whatever it was. So,
When you talk about which department?
no, he asked about the police department that's on here. This is what we have for the status, the staff that we have,
Yep.
not the proposal to add staff.
Now, Naomi, you're looking at the 2016,
Correct. Of
not
one,
the default, just the.
I'm just looking at proposed at the moment.
Okay. As I understand it, the default budget has in all the possible contractual requirements coming in, correct?
It's supposed to.
It's supposed to. Meaning contracts, the chief and all of those?
Right, and
Yes.
that's what I thought Beth gave
Yeah.
me, and that's what I saw, but I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that nothing else.
What Beth did with the budget is took the RSA and took 15s and did the RSA, which I shared with you all, and brought over the numbers that were either approved in the 15 one, remember we did that exercise last year, or contractual obligations. That's what was brought over for the default. So what's your pleasure? It is after 10, so
Yeah. Been battling a headache all night.
I could see you doing that.
It's up to everybody else though, it's not my decision.
I started 5 in the morning, so.
Sorry, what's your headache? Got an early start on?
And then I got an early start on my headache this morning.
I mean, I think you've gone through two of the big departments. You do have one left. I mean, I'm just going to go out on a limb. Last week we went through what I gave you, all the other ones line by line, I thought, unless you're going to go back. So the only one I got left is the PD.
Smaller departments, we need,
Right, we've already done that.
really, we need.
So the only thing I would have is the PD, which should have snagged him first, but I didn't.
Yeah, well, we can.
I don't mind doing PD next week and then warrant articles. I was looking at your list. We've got on the
I get that, and then
14th warrant articles.
right, that's kind of where I was going to leave because we have to have some discussion about those warrant articles.
We could do PD and warrant articles on next.
Right, and then that would get them still, so I could get to her. You know, the goal is to try to get it done so that they've already got the school off in January, but we can have a good discussion at that point. So we'll do the PD and the warrant articles next week. The rest of them are fine. Okay.
Any questions on the people?
I've yet to look at it.
Thank you.
How are you?
Approval of minutes.
The 30th was just sent out today.
Who was that out in the hall? I just seen. Never mind. I don't think it's Neil. Maybe imagining.
Who do you think it was?
I thought it was Neil Cook.
23rd?
That was Tim.
Was it?
That was Tim.
Anybody have any comments on the 23rd?
Oh, wait, 23rd.
23rd. Page 1, last paragraph. Very last sentence. It resulted in, and I added the need for new officers. It didn't result in new officers.
Okay.
I had some things on page 4. Third paragraph, we're talking about lifeguards. I think it's water safety is for lifeguard. I think it's certification, not registration.
Yeah,
Certification.
certification.
And then down, when we're talking about the library, 1, 2, 3, fourth, it starts with, it was discussed, and I just added the word "the" at the end, taxation and the other money. And then in the next one, where it starts with Sawyer Room is hooked up to the generator, and then I took out and added which is not working well, because it's the generator, not the Sawyer Room, that isn't working well. Page 5, where it says line 770, just in place of the word "the," I put in "is." Aging fleet, wait a minute, asked for a $10,000 increase due to repairs on the aging, fleets, apostrophe S, electronic systems. And then the last paragraph.
I got one further up than that. The 45,000 should be 4,500.
Right.
On the finance department at the $50 a mile, there's an extra zero. And then also down a little further, where it says Mr. Redmond in the RSA, it's down one more time.
That's
There's an extra
45.
zero, yep.
Then on the last paragraph, it needs some straightening out there. It was explained that an employee of 39 years retired and agreed to take his vacation, accrue a sick time reimbursement, and then I added in 2016.
Yep.
Which is why it's in the budget. Currently, an employee can accrue 1.5 times their vacation. Under transfer station, on the next page, put the highway department transferred an employee, the transfer station. just sound better than gave, like give away.
Mhm.
And then I think where it's line 750, I think that the, where it says backhoe brakes, I think it's brakes like slowing down. Skid steer brakes, comma, backhoe brakes.
I think it's the other
No.
way around. It's the first break should be EAKS.
Correct.
There's
For
brake,
example, the
Skid steer breaks
brakes,
down.
breaks down,
The
the backhoe breaks down.
That's,
So they-
that was the intent.
They
Yeah.
should be both.
EAKS.
Yeah, BRE.
Mm-hmm.
And then this,
I saw that too. Whoever Bill is.
it sounds like, never mind, somebody stuck it to somebody here.
The second paragraph in the bottom.
What does that mean?
Sounds
Is
illegal.
it in arrears? Is that what it's supposed to say?
In a rear.
This is a bill. Sorry.
Didn't
Anybody want to take a shot at this?
Yeah, I do. Just remove the whole sentence.
Okay,
that's true.
that'll take care of it.
It was kind of comical, I have to admit.
And the next page, where it's water department, second line, I don't understand. It says town, system of the town office is used by 25 non-residents. I took out the non because I don't,
Well, that was a word that was actually used.
I don't know
It's-
why it would be used by non-residents.
If there's 25 occupants,
They don't live here, is kind of what this statement was.
under the water,
Well, they don't, even though there's 25 people in the building, they may not necessarily be tied to the sewer system at that time.
there's not 25 occupants in the building?
I think I got it.
Non-occupants?
I think that's a better word.
Non-users.
Well, they use it.
Well, they use it. They're not-
Yeah.
But they
They're
don't
not
occupy
contributing.
We're not
to it.
occupying it though,
Yeah.
it's
Correct,
non,
yes.
yeah,
Not living here.
right, and some of us
Yeah,
try not to.
non-residents sounds like somebody who lives out of town.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And on the last page, top line should say town office building rather than town hall. And then the third paragraph should say no through trucking.
No new truck. That too. No new taxes. No new trucking, no through trucking.
Then just above public comment, it should be the town of Weare Fire Department. That's all, folks.
That's all, folks. Turn in your copy.
Page 4.
Okay, go ahead.
Page 4.
Third
I'll
line.
take the notes, Tom, to that.
Sure.
Fourth line from the bottom, the finance committee has no comment, not comment.
If only they never had not comments.
Hmm.
That it?
Okay.
I'd like to add on page 3, talking about my reasons for not supporting the FEMA funds. I guess it's fine the way it is, sorry. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the November 23rd, 2015 meeting minutes as amended.
Second. Any discussion? What we just had? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
30th you just got, I think, today.
Okay.
We'll do those next week. On to manifest. Oops. Yep.
I move we order the treasurer to sign the accounts payables and payroll checks dated December 10, 2015, as included in the following manifests. Payroll manifest of $46,087.07 for a weekly payroll, including payroll taxes. Accounts payable manifest of $50,977.75. A Weare School District payable manifest of $450,000 for the December 4th, 2015 appropriation. And a John Stark Regional payable manifest of $250,000 for the December 3rd, 2015 appropriation, for a total manifest of $797,064.82.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Administrative report.
Okay.
Before you start, just have a question. Kathy, would it be possible to get the minutes from you on Friday?
Yeah, I can,
Because
it's been a tough stretch to do it lately, but
yeah,
it works better
if
doing it
possible,
on a Friday.
because there's no way we can review the previous week's minutes if they come in on Monday, because with people working, they don't see them. I see them because, I just hang around, but other people.
Waiting by his computer for them to come in.
Like the sewer bill. Okay, I handed you one. It's pretty short. I will add that next week I'd like to do the PD budget and the warrant. I handed you a capital reserve balance that was there for your book. The noise ordinance, I was supposed to do that for tonight, but I know that we had such a long agenda. I'm debating, Dick handed us, which I will scan and send to you, the fireworks one. If you want to do something like that to start with, and then, because I had put on here that we were going to go to the 14th, but the 14th is just, we have to talk about these warrant articles, which that's a warrant article, but, and I can leave it there and see where we go. No through trucking, as we know, is going to take longer. Warrant article. Yeah, because we're running, we have to publish and post January 4th for that, the hearing and stuff, so I want to make sure that's why I was pushing to finish at the end of the year. 4th, last day to post, hearing on the bond and the budget for the 18th. Yeah, we're running out of time. That's why my push was to finish at the end of the year. It was kind of where we were. Oh, it's not me. So if we can focus that without adding a whole lot more to it for the 14th, we could make some. I'll leave the noise one on there because I guess it would be an ordinance, but I will scan you the one that he gave us for Goffstown and send it out for a discussion. I do have. That's all I have on this sheet here, but I have. You asked me to. Is this cover more palatable? It's a share, same size.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we can do that. I'll pass it down. There's 3 orange tabs if you guys want to do that. That's the collective bargaining for the DPW. I did want to ask a question this evening. Someone came in today and asked about using the sign in front of the town hall. Now, we have a form for rules and regulations for the sign. I'm going to be right up front with you. We have a presidential candidate coming to town, and they've asked to use the sign in front of the town hall to advertise the get-together, I'll call it. It's going to be at the Weare Middle School, Saturday the 12th, 10 a.m. The question was, there's not anybody after tomorrow using the town hall at all till the end of the month. Typically, it's so booked that it's not an issue. But now that it's available, the question was, can you put that type of advertisement, being political, up on there? So I'm just going to say your rules and regulations do not. It just says that first option is who's renting, which no one's using it. And then your second defaults to Since the building's used on a daily basis, if it's left, can't be left longer than a week. One organization can monopolize the sign. It does not say anything about political, but what I will tell you is this, I don't even know if this is old. This is a political signage policy that was old. It was in the computer. And it says that posting of political signage on or in any property owned by the town of Weare is prohibited.
See that as political sign, it doesn't say vote for this person. It's
Okay.
letting the town
Okay.
people know.
I just was, before somebody raises the issue, if they see it, this is the only other thing I could find. This does not prohibit political, it's just advertising, it's not being held there, it's advertising at a,
event.
Yeah, as long as
okay,
they're just
and I
advertising.
used it very blanketly, I'm not gonna say one party or another, because if
Sure.
another candidate comes to town, I'm just asking.
I think it's important that if another candidate does come to town,
Mm-hmm,
that we make room on the sign for that if they ask for it.
right, okay, very good
Even
point.
if it's just one side, that we have
Yeah.
to move something around
Yeah.
for, so that we're equal.
Yeah, because typically it says, no announcement should be left, no organization is able to monopolize the sign. It says if there's no interest by individuals or organizing renting the town hall to use the sign, town committees, and town nonprofit organizations have the second option. So, I just wanted to be clear.
Presidential candidate coming to our towns, it's kind of a big deal. I think.
Okay, no, and I'm just, and I have no party one way or another, just the question was going to be asked, because somebody's gonna remember this.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
think
no,
that,
but
that's where somebody puts up a vote
Vote for,
Joe
okay.
Schmo.
But
on
come
the
meet
front of
such
the
and
town
such like a
hall.
town hall,
Yeah,
okay.
come and meet. and-
Whoever, yeah, okay. Nope, that's, because I do know that will come up, I'm sure. This here, you guys got all handed,
Mhm.
or, I'm sorry, emailed, I made you copies for it. Keep that close by, because that'll be coming a topic at one meeting.
Mhm. Not
I thought it was
tonight.
coming- I
Not
thought it
tonight.
was tonight.
Well, we were wrong.
I was too. The only other thing is, tonight we had a discussion with a driveway and a class 6. Keep in the back of your mind, I don't know if you went out to Horse Hill Spring.
I
Horse
did,
Hill
I think
Spring was a
Yes,
couple
I
weeks
did.
ago,
Yes, I did.
and, okay, it's very steep, but it has the same, he's been here, so we kind of have to follow the same path. And I'm kind of gonna push the boat together to planning board and then come back to us, so that we're not thinking 3 months from now, man, what do we do for that one? So that's kind of why I put them all together. They have a very similar, altogether use.
I'll get the grade over there.
They're all driveways, they're all access. One's class 6, one's something else. So just wanted you, if you haven't had the opportunity to go see Horse Hill Spring, I think, did you get out there? And I
I
think
walked
Tom
out there.
found it as
That's
well.
the one.
I walked out
That's
there
the one.
Sunday.
That's the one on the sharp corner on Barnard Hill.
One of the residents was standing there watching me look at it.
Yeah, because if you actually were to take Wordley, where that gentleman talked about, if you followed Wordley all the way to the end, you can do it in a Jeep. Follow it all the way to the end, you come out to,
Yeah.
it actually should have hooked up to Horse Hill Spring, and then Horse Hill Spring come out to
looks
Barnard
up there.
Hill.
Yep.
But you come out into, that gentleman looks like his backyard, because he's got stuff out there. But if you, what she's looking to access, and my question last time was, access to 1 has always been okay, but not to get 2 and 3 lots. You know, you can have a shared driveway if you're going to consider it a driveway, because zoning allows for a shared
Which
driveway.
is why they were looking at 2.
Correct, not 3.
To do a shared
But
driveway.
it's a class 6 road.
It's a class 6 road. Yeah.
The, I think there's a little difference. Didn't Art, the presenter,
Mhm.
say that they'd already been denied by either, were they denied by the planning?
Yeah, they were denied. They were denied, actually, I believe, by both.
Correct.
Both?
By planning and, but I don't know that
Due to grade.
it was largely due to the grade,
15.
because it's a huge fill, I believe.
It's like 20. Yeah, it's probably all 20.
It's going to be a big fill.
Look,
Yeah.
possible. I'll look again.
Okay.
You can see where the stone walls came up at one point from Horse Spring Hill Road to Barnard Hill, and the elevation has changed substantially in that.
Yeah, we
Barnard
built
Hill
that
Road.
up. The town
Correct.
built that up years ago.
Correct. So, I mean, you can see the substantial change in the grade. With that said, that was probably made to make Barnard Hill safer.
And then there's Dick's proposal that we approved. I don't have any more, Keith.
Public comment. Correspondence.
I shared you the only correspondence with transfer station stuff.
Any other business?
Just to mention again that all of that overgrown shrubbery around the town hall has been
Oh,
removed.
yeah.
And I did take down that sign. It was illegal to take it down because I got board permission, the old handicap sign, not a street sign.
You didn't take it home or anything? You gave it to
Clo
Tim?
Drive? Took home Clo Drive?
Jeez.
I didn't go, that worked out all right,
I
though?
do temporarily have it at home, but I was gonna drop it off at your house, Keith.
At my house?
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Did it come out, does it look better? I probably should drive by.
I think it does.
Taking all the shrubbery out?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it exposes it's nice. I was up there Saturday, it looks good.
I'll have to go by instead of asking.
Other business.
No, but I will, can I just share with you, I got a text or email from Sean. Sean let me know that if they also have a TV in the lobby, that he'd be happy to put some of the information on
Oh, nice.
our stuff too, if I can get the, I don't know if it's a thumb drive, it's fairly new, because they do have the thumb drive, the capability now. He said he'd be happy to run some of the stuff too.
So if the 2 thumb drives they were requesting, if they need to add a third to it and stay within their cap of $500,
Yeah,
You said they were
then they
gonna be-
probably should do that if they can add it to the one at the PD. If they want
Yeah.
to. It's up to, I guess
Yeah.
it's up to Kate.
but I'm just saying, he offered that, and I will share that. I'll share that with them too,
Yep.
because he does have one, and he offered to put up any advertising or the things there too, to put it in that building. And you do know that tomorrow night they're having an open house at the police department with Santa Claus and everybody.
I'll be there.
So, anybody that's welcome, it's open to the public.
At what time?
5 to
I think it's 5:30.
5:30 to 9, 8.
5:30 to 8, I think. It's more
5:30
for,
to
yeah,
8.
Santa
Department
Claus.
is a safety complex.
Yeah,
Correct.
open house.
Department is having an open house.
Police department.
Are they open both sides of the building? No? Okay.
Oh, we have another event going on at the
Okay.
fire department.
All right.
Right, I move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.